Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
You have entered into a dimension of truth, where time does not exist and illusions are shattered. The journey of truth is intense. The journey of truth will set you free. Consider this a warning as you enter the dimension of truth uncompromised. All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is May 30th. We have a great show planned for you tonight. We are continuing our series on The Lands of the Giants, Part 7. So hopefully you've been able to join us for this particular series. We're using a main source of material, this book called the Cities of Basan, and it's basically a man was commissioned from England to go on a journey to visit the biblical cities and document his travels. So interestingly enough, on this journey, he is literally finding the remnants of giants, so meaning their grave sites and also their homes. And he's, tying these giant artifacts in these cities back to biblical events. And then in the midst of it, he's, also tying in when the Romans ruled and when the Greeks ruled. So interestingly enough, what I stood out for me last week was when he ran across some ruins, and the particular ruins he ran across were from the Roman time period, and that was falling down. And how, once again, it was built on top of ancient structures that were the giants. And he even admitted in his material, throughout the material, that the giants, and he even gave the classification for the giants, were actually the indigenous. And yes, he did use the term indigenous of those particular lands. Okay, and one of the structures, the current inhabitants in 1865 who were living there was still living in one of the giants' castles, and if I'm not mistaken, it was Og, who was documented in the Bible as being one of the last of his kind, so a titan. Okay, so hopefully you'll continue to join us, and if you did not get a chance, I highly encourage you to go back and listen to the other episodes as well. We have a lot of good information and nuggets out there for you. So with that said, I'm going to bring in my co-hosts, Brother Sean and Sis Sandra. Let me bring in Brother Sean. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Wholeness and power, sis. I'm well. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Good to hear your voice.
Likewise, beloved, likewise.
All right. Let me bring in Sis Sandra. Peace and love, sis. How are you?
Oh, peace and love to you, sis. I'm doing wonderful. And how are you, Brother Sean and the family?
Wholeness and power, sis.
Yes, doing well. Doing well, sis. Good to hear your voice. Good to hear
Thank
your
you,
voice.
Thank you,
Okay, so we're going to start with, go ahead on with the fuckery. Sis, I'll start with you. Did you have any for this week?
Well, I was just, I didn't read the article, but I was seeing it titled that the oceans are slowly going into the center, into inner Earth. You know, I'm like, okay, so you guys coming out with that one now, huh?
What? Do you remember what publication was saying this, talking about some inner Earth?
Oh, no, I don't remember this. It was on the AT&T ticker.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, AT&T.net. And I said,
right.
Oh, so they going to tell folks now, huh? Because they have to. You know, I was Shangri-La, Shambhala. Shambhala,
yep.
That's what they call it. Shambhala.
Yep.
I saw the movie about that. I know about, what it is and all this kind of stuff. And so if it's going into inner Earth, that's where it's going, to this other land where giants and dinosaurs and all that still reign. Now, they do say that this is the outer surface that we crazy folks live on. So I'm just so surprised. I said, they're going to start telling us secrets, huh? But it's time, right? So
yeah, I'm sorry. No, you go ahead, sis.
Oh, no, I was just saying, so they have left people thinking they're the only folks on the planet, in the universe, and everything else, and here now they just have to come with the truth. So that's like the book of Daniel. In the end times, when knowledge shall increase. Fill up
Yep.
the books until then. Now they letting them books open. So
yeah, it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
I said I'm just impressed. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. I didn't want to cut you off. Yeah, I actually have an article to share with the family, and I'm gonna do that in just a bit. But interesting that you mentioned that they talked about inner Earth coming across the AT&T ticker, because I found, and I wasn't searching for them. This one came across my Google ticker. 3 articles in the major news media talking about they admitting that they UFOs was flying back in 2015. I'm like, yeah, so I'll get to that, but very, very interesting point that you bring up, sis. Brother Sean, you have any go ahead on with the fuckery?
Yeah. I don't know where to begin, actually.
Take your time.
Did you see the video where on That's Impossible channel where they were showing where it was actually raining stones?
Raining stones? STONES?
Actual stones, rock.
I didn't see that.
I saw meteor. Oh, the meteor showering stones were coming down. Is that it?
It's one, I was just watching it a little earlier, and I stopped it at that point. But it was actually raining stones.
And they had it, somebody was filming it, raining stones.
Yeah. It was showing it tearing up the cars. One person's roof was all tore up, and they just ripped the roof to shreds. Now, they're admitting about UFOs now. And it's raining stones, oceans, seas, lakes disappearing. They're showing these water tornadoes, as they're calling them, or water sprouts. It's going all the way up to the clouds.
Right.
I just wonder why they're not admitting that them brothers and sisters up there using all that stuff as weapons.
I think they're gearing up towards it because because of the article I saw where they up there talking about some alien crafts. I'm like, oh, okay, so y'all getting ready to release it now. So it's either one or two things. They're going to try to fake an alien invasion, and or they coming out with the truth because the events that has always been going on, they just can't keep up. They can't hide them anymore because I think that the frequency, and we talked about this last week, is rising so high, it's out of control at this point from their perspective. So they're starting to release this information to kind of get it into people's consciousness for when these skies truly, truly open up. But I mean, I don't know how much more proof do you need if it's damn stones raining. I mean, wow.
I just sent you the video on Messenger.
Okay, you sent it to me on Facebook. Okay, I see it. Okay, they said in Antarctica?
Oh, it wasn't. No, he's talking about Antarctica too, but no, it wasn't Antarctica.
Okay.
They got a big old hole up there now.
Yeah, and some folks are saying that Antarctica is pretty much. They said that it's pretty much back to tropical, and they don't want to release that information.
They also not releasing the information about how building and technology, everything that's made from sand, which is just about everything from glass to plastic to whatever. Them dredging up all that sand. The sand is support for the land.
True that. True.
And they out there removing all that sand to keep building stuff. And that's actually setting things off balance.
Yes.
Mama put it where she wanted it. She had everything perfectly balanced.
Right.
But then mankind want to take stuff. I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to put that over there.
Right.
Take it from one place.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why we having all these sinkholes and this, that, and the other. Every time they find something in the ground, they get to taking it out. And you didn't put nothing back to support nothing.
Exactly.
So it ain't God that's doing this, that, or the other. It's Mama and her natural reaction.
Exactly. Repairing herself.
You know, I have a friend. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But I have a friend in Houston, and she said, you know the reason why it's flooding? I said, what? She said, because it then turned it all to cement. She said, there's no place for the water to drain anymore. So all these places are flooding now because, you know, they got all cement everywhere. And it can't go back into the sand, especially when they then took the sand away to make all this cement.
Exactly. And, you know, Mother Earth is definitely correcting herself because there is on record, and you all can just go do a quick Google search, or you can do a YouTube search, where a lot of the deserts are being turned back green. And that shouldn't be a surprise to us because, remember, the deserts, you know, those of us that do research and that go within, were the result of fighting and using that scalar technology that scorched the land. So it's on record now. Matter of fact, I think Saudi Arabia was one of the places. And it was a beautiful photo of this camel standing what used to be a desert, and now it's covered in flowers and grass is starting to grow back. I know Rap the News, he has a YouTube channel. He's on the religious side, but he does catch a lot of great stuff in the sky. And he lives in California in the deserty area. I don't know exactly where. And he's documenting plants just growing, you know, where it normally would not. So, yeah, absolutely, Mother Earth is definitely cleansing and correcting herself.
You know, California is getting more rain than it ever had in a long time in May. And they forget the poles have shifted.
Yep.
That means it's going to be colder and it's going to be wetter. But nobody's telling anybody that.
Yeah, because somebody, I can't remember what YouTube channel it was, he talked about the amount of rain that California was getting, and he thought that maybe it was, you know, a military operation purposely making it rain there. But I'm not so sure that, you know, I'm kind of on the side of what Brother Kalai said, that we're giving folks too much credit when that's not actually the case. It's just Mother Earth repairing herself of all the damage that's been done. So, very, very good point. Brother Sean, did you have something else, or as you said you didn't know where to start?
Okay. Mueller.
Oh,
yeah.
His resignation.
We both like, yeah.
I mean, he said he's not talking, and he's just going to go off into the sunset and live a private life.
Okay, then.
after he done shake the world, right? It's a little late, ain't it?
You know he got to face something. And all that's done is opened up a can of worms. I mean, now that there are no big distractions going on, people ain't got nothing to pay attention to but the fact that their beloved Democrats are some of the most evil and vile people, or monsters, or whatever they are, to be on this planet.
Yeah, I gotta agree to that one.
I mean, the people still loving Hillary and Obama, and I mean, not that any of them should be loved, but
right,
just everything that's being brought out about them. I mean, people hate Trump, quote, because he's, quote, unquote, a racist. Okay, it's plenty of them. We see them all day, every day.
That's
but you're talking about people at the highest level that are involved in human trafficking, pedophilia, and all type of stuff. And people are more outraged about Trump being president and being racist. I don't get it. I mean, we still got children coming up missing to this very day.
Yeah,
and
Chicago.
The majority of them are melanated children.
Right.
I just don't get why children wouldn't be more important than being a follower. Because that's all they're doing is following the Democrats.
Right.
I mean, none of them actually take the time to figure out what's going on. They just go with whatever the Democrats and mainstream media tell them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just a matter of paying attention to what's going on, not just in this country. Other countries, you have people in similar positions resigning in other countries that are involved in this. I mean, it's a worldwide attack on melanated children. And people are concerned about a racist being president of a colonial corporation.
It's crazy, isn't it? I agree.
Fuckery is what it is. It's fuckery.
You know that there's one article I read that in 1550 to 1850, they were having serious trafficking and slavery going on. And I read an article on AT&T that they are kidnapping North Korean or South Korean women and girls and then trafficking them. I mean, are these people really not paying attention what's happening other than the fact that they don't like them because they're racist?
Well, I mean, I agree with both of you and what you both of you are saying, but we know the reality of it is, it's spiritual, low vibrationalism.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you don't care about the womb that birthed you, that provides you life, it doesn't surprise me that children aren't a priority. The spell of the matrix is so deep that just simple things about, honoring your mother, taking care of where you lay your head, protecting your children, it's not being done. And that's why, this particular realm has stayed at a low level, because the first violation, again, was against Mother Earth. So it was just downhill from there. So none of it surprises me. It doesn't surprise me that people are so spellbound that even the illusion of a political system in itself, it's disgusting and it's a joke. Just the mere fact that someone feels that they need a ruler over them to govern their mental, it's sick within itself. So the whole thing itself, and until people get it in their mind to become a spiritual adult and to the God state that they are, they're going to keep repeating the cycle, because they're creating the hell. That is creating the hell. Anytime you got to look outside of yourself, you get whatever those demiurges want to F and dish out to you. So that's whether or not it's Democrat or Republican. It's just a joke to me, and it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
It truly, truly is. I mean, even with melanated people, I'm getting on melanated people because we get nothing out of these political systems. I don't give a damn who's in office. You're not getting anything out of it. But yet, majority is still on that cycle loop. But why should it surprise me when you can walk past the ghettos and see trash laying around? You see neglect within our own families. And until people take responsibility and accountability to self, then they're going to keep living in hell, because that's the environment and the reality that they created. Like, Dilbert Blair, Dr. Dilbert Blair said last week on the video I played, you can't act like a god some of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You either are or you ain't. You are to do that all of the time. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
See, that brings me to this point. The fact that people let so much heinous crimes happen to the children, the starseeds, the ones who are supposed to be correcting things, is coming in with that new energy. You're letting them be stalled the way that we were. And as long as this is the reality and paradigm that you're allowing to exist,
yep,
when you come back in your next reincarnation,
yep,
as a child,
yep,
things are going to be much, much worse.
agreed.
because you stand in silence on this.
Yep. Absolutely.
If you want things to change, that's what your focus has to be on.
That's right.
Focus on what's important.
Yep.
They board of directors in a corporation ain't important. Decisions that they're making that's affecting us, that we have to rectify, is the reason that I pay attention. You have to know what's done to you in order to undo it. Not that I'm pulling for any of them. I'm enjoying the show, watching them go at each other.
Indeed.
Just like they did with our ancestors. They turned us against each other and watched us destroy ourselves, and then they finished us off.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's karma.
Yep. Yep. And
they're so rude to each other.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis. What you say?
They're so rude to each other. I'm like, geez, I remember times they wouldn't talk to each other like that. They was always polite and, political. That's a good word.
Yeah,
political.
it's theater. They're ramping it up because it takes more to keep people's attention these days because of all of the distractions they have out there. They have to keep upping the game. So, that doesn't surprise me. It's theater. They're all actors. But, I do want to add to what Brother Sean said, and I'm going to keep saying this. It starts at home. Sweep around your own doorstep. Most people don't reach out and help others, or aren't really concerned about others, or just kind of turn their head because they don't even do it within their own family. If you cannot do it within your own family, protect your children, respect, your mother, your wife, your daughter, your significant other, then you just keep the curse going. It is your responsibility to break these curses, but it starts in your household. So I don't expect for people to be concerned about innocent children when they don't even do it in their own family. I don't expect for people to be concerned about the health of Mother Earth when they don't even walk outside their door and make sure that they don't have fucking trash in front of their home. This is not hard. This is just simple stuff. And until people get it right, raise their consciousness, they'll just keep repeating the hellish cycle. So it is what it is. So, but very, very good point. But in the meantime, the planet, Mother Earth, is ascending. It's not waiting on you to get your shit together. I can guarantee you that. Okay? Because she can always replicate and split herself and divide herself. And she can split into a higher level and have this hell realm still going for folks to keep recycling in until they get the shit together, if they get their shit together. So it's individual choices at this point. It's always been that, to be honest. So, okay. I do want to share with you all the articles that I found. Let me get to the one that I talked about With they talking about the doggone UFO. Now this came off of Fox News, but I also saw it on CNN, and I saw it somewhere else too, y'all. Okay, this was yesterday off of Fox News. Former U.S. defense official, we know UFOs are real. Here's why that's concerning. After a bombshell report detailing near daily interactions with unidentified flying objects by Navy pilots in 2014 and 2015, Christopher Mellon has argued that this information is nothing new and the government needs to do something about it. Mellon, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, is involved with a new History Channel series, Unidentified, which will expand on topics discussed in a recent New York Times article. In numerous interviews, Navy pilots revealed that they saw UFOs moving at hypersonic speeds, performing acts beyond the physical limits of a human crew, and emitting no visible engine or exhaust plumes. In a Wednesday morning interview with Fox and Friends, Mellon, who has written extensively on the topic before, outlined the reason the Navy is concerned about these sightings. We know that UFOs exist. This is no longer an issue, he said. The issue is, why are they here? Where are they coming from? And what is the technology behind these devices that we are observing? There are indications, Mellon said, that the objects reported by Navy pilots in 2014 and 2015 were doing things that aren't possible in this physical realm. The speeds being reported, about 5,000 miles per hour, according to Mellon, were only sustainable for about an hour by an aircraft in the air, and these objects would be flying around all day long, the pilot said. Pilots observing these crafts are absolutely mystified, and that comes through clearly in their public statements, Mellon continued. Fascination turned to fear one day. However, when a Super Hornet pilot said he almost collided with one of the objects, which he described as a sphere encasing a cube. An official report was filed, and the incident shattered the previous theory by Navy pilots that the objects were a part of some sort of extremely classified drone operation. These are reactions between intelligently controlled vehicles operating in and around the U.S. military facilities, hence the concern, Mellon explained. 1, there have been near mid-air collisions, so there is a safety issue. 2, there is a vital national security issue, which is that our sovereignty is being violated by vehicles of unknown origin, he continued. Although all of this information is old news to Mellon, it's taken America by storm, and he says we're hardly the only country to have interactions with these objects. Having written extensively about UFO sightings before, Mellon said he's frustrated with the lack of action being taken by the government, as are the Navy pilots who experienced the sightings. He decided that the only way to make progress was to release this information to the public in the form of his new show and television interviews. We are giving military personnel on the front line a voice, he said. We are helping them get out the message of what it is they are encountering and why they are so concerned about it. So again, this article came out on Fox News yesterday. Former U.S. defense official, we know that UFOs are real. Here's why that's concerning. So, yeah.
So he said that craft can only attain that speed or keep that speed for a certain amount of hours, but they did it all day.
Yep.
So is that them admitting that they've been trying to reverse engineer some stuff and they still ain't got it perfected?
To me, that's what it said. Exactly. Because then he said it could be some highly classified drones. Like, okay, bro, so you telling us that y'all putting crafts in the air that are unique as well, but you admitting y'all shit can't top the real thing. Yeah, I picked up on that
something
too.
About almost mid-air collisions.
Yes.
The other brothers up there that's flying, brothers and sisters up there that's flying them ships, I believe they know what they're doing. So, I mean, who almost had the mid-air collisions and with who? I mean, was it them using their inferior technology and trying to keep up and almost crashing into each other?
That's what I think. I think their secret experiments almost crashed into each other. But we know that this little bit that he's releasing, we know that there's far more sophisticated craft because those crafts can shape-shift per se. They can disappear, all that.
But you know the main thing I picked up on?
Mm-hmm.
You plug in a goddamn show on the History Channel.
Yeah.
You're using everything that's going on now to draw people back into the goddamn TV.
Of course.
Instead of looking up in the sky.
Because they want to tell it the way they want to tell it. Yeah.
Right. Instead of then you can look up in the sky and see shit jumping off by yourself. You don't need them to narrate it or
sure
nothing.
Don't.
You just
sure
watch
don't.
it. You can
Yep.
narrate it your damn self. Take your camera and record it and put your voiceover on it and everything like they gonna do, but majority of their shit gonna be CGI. You can actually record real shit that's going on and put your real voice on it.
Yep. Absolutely. 1,000% agree. Yeah, when he said the History Channel, I was like, oh, okay then. So they're trying to control the narrative. So that's that story.
Well, they did control it by telling you it was in 14 and 15. It's been happening almost every day. And they're just trying to tell you it was way back then so you won't bring it forward.
Right. And but although people have been saying it for a long time, and if anybody read William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse, he opened up talking about it. Yeah, back in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And when he was in the Navy.
Yeah, the enemy's war.
And they made them sign waivers and stuff and pretty much threatened them and told them you didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm. So by them telling you it was back 4 or 5 years ago, it's not going to impress on anybody that is relevant for now. Because I thought to myself, I heard it yesterday. I was, out doing my exercises. And I thought to myself, why do they want to bring up something that was in 14 and 15 and it's 2019 right now? Somebody's lying.
Well, basically because they know that people don't pay attention to what's going on presently. Everybody always in the goddamn past looking for shit.
That's true.
That's true.
Now that's true. And two, that would be their way to say when that sky open up and they start
we told
them.
We told them.
We told you. We had it on the news. it in this publication, that so we told y'all.
And we told y'all back in 2014 and 15.
Yep. So consider that y'all disclosure. Consider that your disclosure. That ain't none of the truthers saying that. That's them admitting lightly. Just like with the pole shift. How long have we been telling y'all a pole shift was going to happen? Now they put it in the major publication. So when that them suns, plural, start rising in the opposite direction, well, we told y'all that the poles were shifting. We told y'all.
You also told them there was a center of Earth. Now they come out with that.
So we'll see. Even with that said, we know even with them coming out with things that they have come out with, people are still paying attention. Because all of the other fuckery stuff is more important on their minds. So, oh well, it is what it is.
So maybe that's why we have this big distraction with all this political crud.
Well, they were going to do that anyway. It's interesting because I thought they started kind of late.
Yeah.
With political stuff, I'm like, oh wow, they really just started to ramp up with the political stuff.
Yeah, I look at the politics as the microcosm of what's going on. What's going on with the Star family and them ships and Mama, that's the macrocosm.
Exactly.
They got R. Kelly back.
And the fact that they're constantly at each other, that means that they're not focused on damaging Mama any further. They're too busy. And there's too many distractions for them. All we got to do is go within ourselves. All you got to do is unplug.
Yep, unplug.
Unplug and tap into Mama.
Yep.
Everything gonna happen that's meant to happen. And it's time for them to go.
Clean up your own bloodline. That's right.
They gotta go. So I mean, as far as for whether or not you go with them, that depends on you repairing your relationship with Mama. It depends on you elevating your frequency.
Absolutely.
It depends on you breaking that bloodline curse that you have.
Absolutely.
You can't break my bloodline curse, and I can't break yours.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Okay, the last article I want to share, and then we'll get into tonight's topic. This was from CNN. This came out today. Forbidden planet found by astronomers in Neptunian desert. CNN astronomers. No, I'm sorry, not CNN astronomers. Astronomers have found an exoplanet so rare that they have deemed it the forbidden planet, according to a new study. Technically known as NGTS-4b, the planet is 3 times the size of Earth and 20% smaller than Neptune. It is also hotter than Mercury with a temperature of 1,832 degrees Fahrenheit, and the planet has its own atmosphere. An international team of astronomers used the Next Generation Transit Survey observing facilities to spot the small rogue planet. Its mass is 20 Earth masses, and it will around its star in full orbit every 1.3 days. A study detailing the planet published Monday in the journal Monthly Notices of Royal Astronomical Society. The announcement comes on the heels of last week's discovery of 18 Earth-sized exoplanets. It's the first exoplanet like this to be found in the Neptunian desert. To be clear, this isn't a barren region on the gaseous planet of Neptune. Instead, it's a region close to stars where Neptune-sized planets can't be found. Here, planets are blasted with radiation from the stars, so the planets can't maintain their gaseous atmosphere. They evaporate, and only a rock core is left behind. But NGTS 4b still has this gaseous atmosphere. Astronomers believe that either the planet moved into this region within the last million years, or the planet itself was once bigger and the atmosphere is in the process of evaporating. This planet must be tough. It is right in the zone where we expect Neptune-sized planets could not survive, said Richard West's statement. Study author and principal research fellow from the University of Warwick's Department of Physics. It is truly remarkable that we found a transitioning planet via star dimming by less than 0.2%. This has never been done before by telescope on the ground. It was great to find after working on this project for a year. This has sparked a new search for more planets and missions like NASA's Planet Hunter test could further explore the region. We are now scouring out data to see if we can see any more planets in Neptune's desert, West said. Perhaps the desert is greener than we once thought. Okay, so again, that article came out today. CNN, forbidden planets found by astronomers in Neptune's desert. All right, here's what I have to say about that, and the reason I shared it, because all you have to do, once again, is look up in the sky. If you watch the sky good enough, you'll start to see behind those clouds, you'll start to see different spheres, shapes, and particularly by the sun. And in some cases, it blocks the sun, and some of them are huge. So, just go out and do YouTube searches, and you have a lot of people, just like Brother Sean is saying, they just taking their camera, taking their regular phone, watching the sky, and they're capturing these things. And particularly is a couple of people that use the weather cameras from around the world, and they go through the footage every day, and they are catching these different quote planets in the atmosphere, clear as day. So I find it really, really hilarious that now they're coming out publicly saying that they're finding all of these quote exoplanets, but yet folks still are not paying attention. All you have to do is look up in the sky. You'll see it yourself. Sometimes you'll see, as we talked about the UFOs earlier, you'll see half of the sky like blocked out. Sometimes it could be dead of the night, and it looks like it's still a little day. And then sometimes it's day and it looks like it's night. There is a lot of activity going on that we can see with our own eyes if we just look up and pay attention. So, this is going to be how they're going to call themselves giving the public disclosure. I know, a lot of people talked about, oh, they're going to come on TV and make these huge announcements. Well, this is their version of making those huge announcements. But as we suspected, folks aren't, for the most part, the populace aren't paying attention. But you prepare your mindset. So when these things start jumping off, you'll be like, okay, there it is. Of course, you'll be shocked, and we'll all be like, oh, hell no. But it should not be earth-shattering to you from a reality standpoint. So I just want to share that article with the family. They're talking about all of these exoplanets that they are discovering, and yet the YouTube truthers that literally just put their camera to the sky have been documenting this for years. And now these things are so close that they are, you can't help but notice them. Huge spheres or planets in the sky. Okay. All righty. Sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
It's just ironic. They hit us hard with lies, as hard as they can. But the truth has to be a soft disclosure.
Exactly.
People might lose their minds. And like you said, they're trying to put a narrative on it. Oh, yeah, in 2014, 2015, they was all over the place. But if you just look up, they still all over the goddamn place.
Right.
And they never left.
No. If anything, it's ramped up. Because in that article, when they talked about the UFO, about that, what did they say? The cube, the cube and the sphere. So meaning the sphere was inside the cube. Well, hell, folks had filmed that straight up on YouTube. Remember when those videos was floating around? People was videotaping that cube in the sky. So I'm like,
yeah, the one the cigar shape that was eating up those chemtrails and stuff, and stopping the meteors from hitting the planet. Remember those?
Yeah.
And they blocked that guy. And he had ones of the spirals and everything. I forget his name, but he had some serious UFO stuff. And they were blocking all his stuff. And that was like last year or so.
Yeah, but now I'm noticing them letting a lot of that come through. And that's why, I keep saying that they can't hide it anymore, because those planets, or, they're very, very close. Extremely, extremely close. So they can't hide this stuff. You can literally, just go on YouTube and search it. The fake clouds that they're putting up there, you can still see them behind the clouds, plain as day. And, they're blocking out the sun parts of the day. And that's why part of the reason they have that artificial sun up. And another thing that stood out for me in that UFO article, when they were saying with the last article I just read, that it circled around the star 1.3 days it took. So that would make sense why folks are seeing different planets every couple of days, because their rotation cycles are different. So it's going to be interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
And we could take it from a different perspective. Like how they say that the other planets was jealous of Mama, and they the reason.
Right.
Okay, let's say her brothers and sisters are trying to make amends. That's why you're seeing all these different planets come into play. I mean,
right.
Or Anu's in the house.
Even though they aren't solid bodies.
Exactly.
They're not doing anything solid. But I'm wondering if NASA is seeing this or they seeing it with their technology. Because they say that 5G can't even detect these weather patterns that's going on now.
Yeah. Somebody else was, I was talking to a sister last night, and she was saying the same thing. I said, did I not tell y'all that them towers couldn't keep up? Can't keep up with the frequency.
Considering that everything is on lockdown, all the portals, this, that, and the other, all that activity up there in the sky, and you mean to tell me they still got time to be looking for other goddamn planets with all these ships around here? And how are you looking up at these quote-unquote other planets when the sky is covered majority of the goddamn time?
Exactly.
I just
exactly.
be wondering. I mean,
it's just common sense if you think about it.
It's just more self-disclosure. And again, to have you watching their programs, listening to them say this, instead of just looking up.
That's all you have to do.
It's that simple. I mean, ain't no tricks to it, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
When you go outside, instead of looking down at your phone, turn on your camcorder and point your phone up at the sky. You still got your phone in your hand. You didn't have to put it down. I mean, I know how some of y'all feel when that phone ain't in your hand. But you can actually look up through your phone. Since you don't want to use your bare eyes and you still want to look at the phone, you can look at the phone as you record it, and you still got your phone. Win-win.
Right. Agreed. Just one last thing, and then we're going to get into tonight's topic. Yeah, because, folks not even noticing that the sun is rising and setting in different positions. This morning when I walked out, and I said, oh, shit, that's off. Why is the sun all the way over there? So people not even paying attention to just simple things like that. I know it's setting differently than where it's supposed to be, and it's rising differently. Now, I'm going to have to go out with my compass to get the exact direction that it is, but it's not rising due east, and it's not setting due west like it's supposed to. It's really, really not. Just simple things like that. Just look up in the sky and see where the sun is rising and setting, and see the cycles of the moon, because they didn't got that so messed up. You see the moon upside down, looking like a chipped tooth. It's just all over the place. Really all over the place. Yes, Purple Peel, and peace and love, Purple Peel tonight, and Cobalt Blue. Yes, there has been evidence and witnesses of two suns. I know I saw it with my eyes personally twice. But yeah, people are catching that, and plenty Yeah, it says Havastka residents witnessed 2 suns in 2012 or 2011. Yes, and that was right around the time that Dr. Dilbert Blair said that there was 2 suns in the sky. Okay, Croatia. Okay, thank you, Purple Pill in Croatia in 2012 and 2011. And Dr. Dilbert Blair was the first to go on record about the 2 suns back in 2011 and 2012, and he told us it was 2 suns, and he told us we would even be getting more suns. And actually, even Phil Valentine said it, but I do know that Dr. Dilbert Blair was the first to say those things. Got you. Okay, Purple Pill, got you. So it's just simple stuff like that. So, okay, we got callers. So let me get 678, and then I see you, brother 832. Let me get 678 first. 678, your line is open.
Peace and love, y'all. How y'all doing today?
Peace and love. Sis, how are you?
Wholeness and power.
Doing well. This is your millennial out here in Nevada.
Yes, I recognize your voice. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm battling a little sinuses right now. I'm not used to whatever it is blooming out here. Y'all know I'm used to Atlanta, and
right.
I've grown immune to whatever is out there. Now I done came over here on the West Coast, and I don't know what the heck this stuff is, but it's beating me up. But I wanted to two things. Since you guys are talking about the sun and the moon and all that, what do you guys think about the flat Earth talk? I've been trying to do some research and looking at it from a different perspective. I mean, I know it's not completely flat, but just looking at it in a different perspective, is it really round? Like a ball?
I definitely don't think. No, I definitely don't think that it's round. And we actually did a show on flat Earth, and a good guy to look into. His name is Martin Kinney. He's done some of the best work in regards to the flat Earth theory, because he looks at it as, instead of outer space being up, that it's really, everything is really outwards. So you have one ring and a ring in the middle, which represents the inner Earth, and then the outer ring to that would be us, and then you go out another layer, that's your Mars region, and then you go out, that's another layer. So check out his work, and his thing was as the precession of equinox, so that time period of the 26,000 year cycle, that also kind of triggers what ages those particular outer rings are going to be in, okay? And he even says that each one of those outer rings represent different beings. So meaning like the Anunnaki may be the oldest being, so they are on the further outskirts of the ring, and then you have your Greys and your other folks. So I would highly recommend Martin Kinney. I think his logic makes the most sense. He gives beautiful visuals. He's even built the model, and he'll show you how that precession of the equinox clock works together with all of those outer rings, and how you go into the golden age, the bronze age, and how each one of those ages represent the consciousness. And then in addition to that, as we're shifting, okay, so meaning the earth per se is not moving, but it's the dome above moving. And as that's shifting, then that's when those dimensional portals open and close. And as they open, that's when you're going to see those other particular outer rings, and some people call them districts, or those other districts. You'll start to see those double suns and those other what we're calling planets, which are really energy centers or stars. So, yeah, I would highly recommend Martin Kinney's work, but it's definitely not no doggone ball what they're saying. That heliocentric model, we pretty much know it's not accurate. So I'll pause in case Brother Sean or Sis, you wanted to put something on it. Okay, well, I'll take that as a no. I'm sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
You could look at it like this. Until, considering they into CGI, until they come up with a working CGI model of a creation of a ball that they're able to put water on, life, this, that, or the other, and spin it at 1,000+ miles per hour and keep everything intact, then you could believe that you're on a spinning ball. But they ain't even been able to fake that. All they can do is keep telling you over and over and over again that you're on the ball. Mm-hmm. If you played with a ball and accidentally stepped on the ball, whether it's a golf ball, basketball, baseball, you fall and bust your ass. But all this life.
I appreciate that. I'm trying to shut my husband up because he's a round earther, and I'm proud to say I'm not. I'm a flat earther to a certain extent, because if I can't see with my own eyes, then I don't put it as fact. I need to do my own research to the point where I've come up with some type of a scientific method to prove what I'm saying and carried it out myself, and then I can say, okay, this is fact. And if I can find someone who's done that and has solid research, I can shut my husband up because he's getting on my nerves.
And he needs to do his research because and that's one thing about Flat Earth, because it set Purple Peel off. He snapping in the chat, and that's okay. To each his own. But all I can say is that folks have taken their cameras and zoomed in on what they're calling stars and planets, and they're not what they say they are. They're not a ball. As a matter of fact, just go check out videos. Planets or stars are luminaries, and they'll show you where they literally zoomed in on what they're calling Mars or any of those what they're calling planets, and they're not a ball. It's like a highly vibratory thing going on. And then on some of them, you can even see the geometric shape in the middle of them. So everybody needs to, a Purple Pill, whatever, you better go have several seats and go get your telescope. That's what you need to do. But, so, check it out for yourself and just go outside. Take your own phone and zoom in on it.
How are people upside down and right side up at the same time? Because if we on the spinning globe, that means somebody on the bottom and somebody on the side.
Right. Right, and then
when
people,
you go to
and then
those
you always,
places, you write
I got
that up.
somebody in the chat room saying, if the Earth was flat, why people not falling off? Do your research.
So the Antarctica is the ice ring that is keeping us
300 feet up or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's an infinite plane.
Well.
There was a video out there where this guy was showing that where it matches some of the, I hate to say it, the scriptures, where the people are trapped in the luminaries, and they are, I guess it was their punishment or something. And they had you could see them moving in there, like some kind of beings. I saw that on a YouTube.
Well, and remember when I gave you all a reference of Donnie of Daytona, and he just changed his
he did that.
YouTube channel name because he got the equipment. He brings the receipts. He spends the money on the equipment with the drone, and he goes up in the sky above the clouds and zooms in on the sky, and he shows the quote luminaries through the dome.
Yeah, being stuck in there. Yeah.
So, bottom line is people do their own research and use your own discernment, but for me, you can't sell me no globe model. You just can't. You cannot sell me the heliocentric model. That you can't. That's just me personally.
Okay, that's saying that considering these people got artificial suns up just instead of them, that means that they're capable of producing fake suns that can travel at thousands of miles per hour.
It will have to spend thousands. It will have to spend thousands of miles per hour, right?
Right. I'm just saying, if we travel through space at over 1,000 miles per hour, but we keep seeing the same goddamn stars
on the regular
other planets is able to just catch up to us and come into our atmosphere. We see the same meteors. We have meteor showers, the same ones every year or every so often. They know when this, that, or the other is supposed to happen. How do they know all this shit if we're traveling through space at thousands of miles per hour?
Right.
I mean, we can't solve the problems just right here, but we know all this other shit. I mean, it's a known fact that these people have lied to us about everything.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
But you choose to believe that because when you was little, they showed you a globe in school and said this is your home.
Beautiful planet Earth.
Right, because everything that they show us are, interpretations. It's not actual footage. And if you don't believe me, all of those pictures that they say come back from NASA, from deep space, no. What NASA said is they give the data to an artist, and the artist make composite drawings of what they think it looks like based off of data, not off of what they've seen. Now, I'm not making this up. That's what they said. So, but again, people use your own discernment, believe what you want to believe. It really doesn't matter to me whether you believe it's a ball, whether you believe it's flat. it doesn't matter to me. Use your own discernment. So yes, sis, that's all I can say to that. I don't think that you can prove it to anyone. It's either, resonates with them or it doesn't.
I agree. The other thing that I had, it was two more things. One is I hope you guys caught the information that Elon Musk put out, these Starlink satellites trying to, I guess, compete with the 5G that's going on. And also if y'all was able to catch any information on the I'm sure y'all are familiar with Dr. Phil Valentine. He hosted a workshop, I think it was Sunday, and I missed it. That was like, I was at my worst with my sinus infection, and I was in the bed all day and missed the workshop. And he did something about the 5G, the vaccinations, and all kind of stuff that's going on. And I was hoping that y'all might have caught it and could share some tidbits.
No, I didn't even know he did it. Is it on YouTube?
No, he what did he do? I want to say it was something where you paid like $35 and then he sent you a link to an online class.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't ran across that information yet. So, if and when I do. I'm sorry, what'd you say, Brother Sean?
He'd be with Black Magic and them all the time, Red Pill and them. So,
okay.
If anything,
they travel in the circus. Okay.
Yeah, so if anything, he probably got the link because he was probably in on it. You could probably go to his channel and, he'll provide you with the link where you can go ahead and pay for it.
Okay. Well, I'll.
But they bought their coins. They bought their coins.
Yeah. I'll see, because I don't know if I'm gonna pay $35 for it. I'm gonna be honest.
In a month, somebody gonna put it up anyway. Like fuck that.
Yeah. And that
he was complaining about that they do that to him, pirate his stuff.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna pay $35 for it, but nothing against them, to each his own. But if I so happen to run across it, I will definitely put my 2 cents on it, sis.
But that's all I really had. I just had a few questions. I love y'all. Y'all keep me cracking up over here laughing.
Okay, love you too, sis, and heal up and get well.
Yes. Peace and love, y'all.
Okay, peace and love.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean. I see you 832, sweetheart. I'm coming to you. What you say, Brother Sean?
Elon Musk, he's in competition with China, or supposed to be. But their 5G technology isn't working just like his isn't. Just like his failed attempt at trying to take on the quote-unquote meteor when we know he was trying to take on one of them ships up there.
Well, wait a minute. What
ship got shot down.
What happened to his car that he put in space?
Car still floating.
They probably shot that shit up too.
He ain't
probably blew that shit right out the sky.
Put that shit up there. Come on now. I know some middle school students that can put together a better computer graphic than that bullshit they put up.
That was so terrible.
Now, see, that's the fuckery I'm talking about. That he supposedly went up in space with this convertible Tesla, with this dummy in the car, and the shit was convertible?
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to believe these people? Yeah, right.
Yeah, you are. Didn't you know you were gullible like the rest of the planet?
Now, I ain't heard them say bat, rat, cat. Here's, an update on the goddamn car. None of that. Because supposedly they sent it up there, right, with the Isn't that what they said? They put it in orbit or whatever the hell they claimed they was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they lost feed.
Yeah, okay then. But they surely didn't come back and get no update on it.
They don't know where it's at.
Oh, okay then. Okay. Okay, I'm
on the way
just
to
saying.
Mars.
I'm just
They
saying.
just footage once they get to Mars, and we'll see the dummy driving it around.
Okay. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, folks are free to use their own discernment. I know people get passionate about flat Earth and the globe. I particularly don't argue about it. Whatever people want to believe, that, hey, do you, boo. Okay. All right, so let me bring on 832. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Rhonda, Sandra, my sisters from other misters.
It is up.
Avatars down. John, my brother from another mother, sitting on Mount Olympus, going to black lightning bolts down tonight.
Indeed, bro.
You made a hell of a point there, man. But I will put a pin in that for a moment. I haven't done movie review for you a while, sister. If you want to be, Siskel, I'll be Ebert. What?
It depends on what movie and if I saw it. Have I seen the movie?
Yeah, well, this is going to be under the umbrella disclosure. That's the context of what we're talking about tonight. And remember, we're in the age of Aquarius, which is supposed to be knowing as opposed to believing from Pisces.
Exactly.
However, it's two movies in particular that I want you to consider, but I'm going to kick it off by I finally saw The Meg. But the two movies in question was Limitless with Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is The One. I've asked you this before with Jet Li, Delroy Lindo, and Jason Statham. And having said that, Jason Statham is the star of The Meg. Did you see The Meg, the Megalodon? I finally stumbled across that last night.
No.
I'm throwing a little jumble here, but it's tying together some of what y'all said about inner Earth and whatnot. You know that the Marianas Trench is supposed to be the deepest point on Earth under the ocean, right? So in this storyline, they have what they call as the thermocline. In other words, what they thought was the bottom was not truly solid. It's a layer of temperature. In other words, it's so cold that this particular layer, you have to try to bust through it. I think it's I think the way they said it in the movie, something like hydrocarbon or something like that. Have you seen it, Sean? Have you seen it, The Meg? Or any of you guys?
No.
Y'all seen The Meg?
Oh.
It was very intriguing because this is supposed to be that prehistoric shark that barreled through. This is like Jaws of the 21st century.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they had lots coming out.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too deep into that. I just wanted to, put that out there about it as an example of how they showed it was a whole other world underneath what they call the thermocline, which is supposed to be an inversion situation of a very cold layer that basically blocked off an entire ecosystem.
Ocean.
But yeah, beneath the. So I was just pointing that out as an example of what you said, my sister, about the ocean supposedly draining.
And they had sharks swimming in real hot water. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, but now Limitless and The One. Now Limitless is kind of a variation or a different flavor of Lucy. If you remember, Lucy was the context of we only used in our entire lifetime, by the way, less than 10% of our brain capacity. Where Limitless was some sort of pharmacological trigger that allowed it to be released. Whereas Lucy, it was not necessarily synthetic, but it was a concentrated form of a certain hormone that pregnant women automatically release in the first gestation period. Something like the first 6 to 8 weeks. This particular hormone is what is fostering and creating the synapses and the brain cells and and, the brain stem, the evolution of the fetus in the first 6 to 8 weeks. I forgot what the name of the particular drug was, but that was what they supposedly injected into Lucy in a constant. Well, really, they used her as a drug mule. Remember, they cut her open, they put bags of this in there, kind of like cocaine, and the bag burst, and so the stuff, exposed itself and was into her brain. But the point, exactly. But the point I'm making by raising that is talking about, okay, all that we have, all the lies that you guys have just got to discussing with the prior call and whatnot. This is stuff that's imposed on us externally through indoctrination in the public school system, right?
Right.
But it is by definition a fraud. Okay, so it's a belief system, white baby Jesus. It's the political system, Democrat versus Republican, primarily under the authority of white males. It is a philosophical system, white supremacy, which, by the way, was created by the black nobility, as you've already done in extended series of King James, the Holy Bible, all this stuff, whether you talk about the Hebrews, we talk about the Christians, we talk about the Muslims, all of these things have been painted white, right? Or with some pale skin variation of its melanated origin. All right. So now, all this stuff are constructs that are imposed externally upon us through our psychological existence, not our actual logical brain, let's say, for example. Because you have a lot of evidence that's showing you other than, and you choose to ignore it, right? Isn't that what we're continuing to choose to be in the construct? We're choosing to take the blue pill, as Cypher said. Well, please, I know the steak ain't worth nothing. I know it's much. I know it's not real, but it's so succulent, right? So we have an imposed external construct. Now, what if, again, I'm just speculating here in the context of disclosure, what if at a genetic level within our DNA there will be an event? Not the way that we're being told by conspiracy theorists and all the other things. Truth uncompromised, I pay much homage and respect to what you brothers and sisters are doing. But I'm just saying, we're still swimming kind of like in a murky existence without guidance. We really don't have a pure, clear, using the analogy of water, we don't really have a pure, clear, untainted, you feel me, environment that we exist in. So we really can't, how can we relate to something of that nature? It's true. What is natural or should be seen as natural is truly foreign. What is polluted, I'm using that as an example, what is false, what is fraudulent, has been embedded. Okay, but again, remember, it is embedded, meaning it's been attached just like a leech. It can be removed. But also remember, a leech must be burnt off of you. Yeah. You must burn it. You must use fire. Okay? So back to, if at a genetic level, at a pure level, some trigger must be thrown. That's the point I'm bringing up and raising Limitless, the storyline. If you remember with Bradley Cooper, he was given this pill. It was a clear pill, too, by the way. But it gave the impression people was taking, like, Molly, or ecstasy, or something like that. And it just, bam, all of a sudden, like a switch was turned on. Okay, The One. Did you ever see that one? Jet Li.
Yeah, I saw it.
Delroy Lindo. Jason Statham.
Yeah, I saw it.
This, okay, so, Sean, you know where I'm going with. This is supposedly the multiverse, right?
Oh, yeah, I did see that one. Yeah.
In some future time, Jet Li kills 124 versions of himself.
Yep.
In other alternate universes. And absorbs the energy or the soul space or the existence of himself on these other planes. But, now, just contemplate this for a moment. Don't answer it. Just something to let it hang in the background. Is it murder that he killed himself? Although he was going to eventually be brought on trial for that. Okay. The 125th version was the last one that he had to kill to become, quote unquote, the one. All right? But as he did kill versions of himself, he became superhuman, supernatural. Remember that song about he became faster than, like Superman, faster than a speeding bullet, He was able to do, amazing things in opposition to what we think of as gravity or as natural physics, etc. And the other version of him, which was totally innocent, if you will, innocent in the sense of ignorant of this other version of himself, had been going around in all these other versions of the universe, parallel universes, killing copies of himself, and that energy was being dispersed between what was now the two final copies. But if he was to kill the final copy, here's what the argument that was underlying behind the storyline. What would happen if he was able to successfully do that and absorb all of the energy of himself in multiple variations? It would tear the fabric of all parallel universes. Now, that was what was being proposed.
Right.
But this is all speculative, right? You say you love the Twilight Zone, right? You know, what are we talking about here when we're allowing to be embedded upon us, not just here, but we're actually the test subject, okay? From 1492 to this day, we, the Aboriginal, autochthonous, indigenous inhabitants of this land, have allowed an agenda that has fostered and now evolved into what we call white supremacy today. A false construct, by the way, but embedded upon us to the degree that it's almost attached to us genetically, okay? So now we're coming here in this existence almost out of the womb. Are you familiar with the psychological and the surveys and the testing they have about terrorism and how it is becoming embedded into DNA?
Oh, wow.
In other words,
I haven't heard that.
The act of violence, of genocide, on a global scale, but something that has been targeted. And we have got, how much evidence do we have after 5 centuries that we have a target on us? Figuratively, literally, and actually. This is not a campaign slogan for Black Lives Matter. Okay? This is something that has not only been started by one foreign invading group, it has now been compiled and compounded by constant waves of immigrants who are all being told to come here and why. Remember, I say this all along. It boils down to 3 little letters. W-H-Y. Why is every place else on this planet unacceptable for this massive human migration that is coming to one location and agreeing to do what to one specific unique people and then lying about it, my sisters, my brothers? Okay? I'm not saying this to beat a dead horse because I know we don't like to continue to have this discussion because we're supposedly moving on in our own discernment, in our own level of consciousness. The rest of our people are swimming in this ocean of ignorance. Okay? But what if, in the context of what I pointed out tonight, what if there is a genetic trigger on a microscopic level embedded in our DNA? And I'll wrap it up with this, because there's 2 frightful things I saw in very many clips of YouTube, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. The 6-year-old that was crying and screaming almost at the video camera saying, why are you killing us? Why are you killing us? Now, she was just talking in general. But obviously in response to the constant shooting of us, unarmed, almost weekly, across this land. But the one that was even more terrifying and had, my flesh, hair stand up, goosebumps among them, was that 4-year-old girl alongside her mother live streaming on Facebook Philando Castile's murder. And it haunts me hearing that 4-year-old baby say to her mother to calm her down in the car and in the backseat of the police cruiser when she's arrested by them. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. What level of wisdom and ancestral embedded in our DNA was coming out of the mouths of babes? And I yield.
All right. Thank you, Brother 832. Thank you. Here's what I just want to make a couple of points on what Brother was saying. Now, you really put something on my mind when you were talking about the movie The One. I can't remember. Was that Jet Li that was in there? That was going around killing versions of himself. Anyhow, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was Jet Li.
Okay, yeah, that was Jet Li. Okay. That's interesting that you equated that to kind of what we're experiencing today and that genetic trigger that you're talking about, because isn't that equivalent to getting your applicable upgrade, getting your DNA upgrades, which in essence is raising your consciousness, or as your consciousness is raising, your DNA unlocks. But that's very interesting what you talked about, the copies of yourselves being absorbed into the one. So very, very good point on that. And I truly, truly appreciate you bringing that up, because that makes me look at things in a different light. Because, if we are in a simulation, so meaning it's a simulation, it can be multiple copies of that simulation, that would make a lot of sense on what you're saying. The other point I want to bring up, as far as the entire racism and the system and the baby being on Facebook Live and telling the mom it's going to be okay. Now, I do have to say this, and I've said it, and I'll keep saying it again and again. Be careful what you take as fact in regards to those events. Because again, because so much trauma has happened on Mother Earth, and as you stated, it is embedded in the DNA. So the traumas and the fears get embedded in the DNA and passed down through your lineage bloodline. These entities use those triggers to control your vibratory state. So to me, a lot of those events are staged. Now, I'm not saying the one that you mentioned is staged. I am just giving you my thoughts on the entire process and giving you my thoughts on why it is being done. Because the goal is for you not to ascend, not to raise your consciousness, not to raise your vibratory level, because these entities want to continue to feed on you and to keep you in the lower vibratory state with fear and anger. They will keep bringing up reoccurring events or putting on different events. And for melanated people, racism and slavery, they use that shit as huge triggers. I sit back and watch the reaction as they flash this shit throughout the media. So the point is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to use your energy towards? Those are my thoughts on that. And I'm going to keep bringing that up, because most of those events that they're putting out, people have dug pretty deep into them, And they're doing a good job of debunking a lot of that stuff. But they know what those DNA encoded triggers are. And they're going to keep bringing them up over and over and over and over and over and over and over again to keep you in the cycle of loop of low vibration. So when I talk about cleaning up the bloodline, that's a part of it. That's a part of it, to break that cycle. Because nothing on this plane, we may not want to believe it, but nothing on this plane happens without the collective consciousness consent. And you have these demiurges that are just benefiting off of others' energy because they cannot function at a higher vibratorial state, and they cannot function off of their own energy. So that's what I have to say about that. Sorry, Brother Sean or Sis, if you wanted to put something on it.
No problem.
You done good. You did good.
Okay, but going with the illusion, and they say that we're supposed to be existing in multiple universes at one time. So that whole thing with the one and all the different ones, if they're constantly keeping us in a reincarnation cycle in each of these multiverses, then it would make sense that if the others were killed off or died off or whatever, that all of that energy and knowledge would come to the one that's still in existence. And they never want you to completely reassemble yourself.
Exactly.
In order to be that being that can defy so-called gravity.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a soft disclosure. But nonetheless, it's just a matter of how we perceive it. A lot of people perceive it as entertainment and didn't see the levels that were there.
Right.
But what I found ironic, though, was that the very people who have replicated themselves and assumed every identity on the planet happen to be the lead role in there.
Right.
I mean, that goes to show you that they would literally kill off all their own just to have power.
Yep, just to have energy. Yep.
But in this case, we know they're killing off us, or the melanated people on the planet, absorbing their energy. And that's not a matter of racism. It's just a fact. I mean, there's certain truths that people still just don't want to admit, whether we put a label to anything. Let's just say we didn't call nobody nothing.
Right.
You still got this same group of people doing what they do.
Doing what they're doing, exactly. Feeding off of others.
Exactly. Whether you give them a label or not, that's what they're doing.
Exactly. Because actually the labels are a part of the spell. because it helps veil who's really whom and takes away the true meaning behind it all, which is really energy. So if I could put a label on the boogeyman, and in my consciousness, I know what the boogeyman looked like, then the true boogeyman and energy vampire is continue to free roam. So when we talk about breaking spells, these are the things that we're talking about. Look at the entire game for what it is. That's including melanated people. I've even said this about Caucasian people and all other races. Everybody's responsibility to get their head out of their sand and look at the truth for what it is and clean up your own bloodline, sweep around your own doorstep. And when you start doing that, then those veils will really start to lift. And you'll see, well, what is this damn Democrat Republic? Oh, this is some bullshit. So everything that they put before you, you need to look at it with a different eye. Everything. And yes, a lot of things that they put out there, they put remnants of truth in it. But a lot of things they put it out there is a distraction, and it's the opposite of what they're telling you. But as Brother Sean said, this is not the age of belief. This is the age of knowing, and you're only going to get to that state of knowing when you go within. And that's why it's important, and we did a show on your energy centers and your emotions, and I did that for the reason, because I know these events keep coming out over and over and over again to trigger certain emotions within you to keep you trapped. And now is the time for you to go within to dispel all of that. Because if you go within, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, all right then. Oh, okay, I see what they're trying to pull. And you can keep it moving. So, that's it. That's all I had to say. But great input. Oh, yes, very good point. The Food of the Gods. This is Purple Peel. The Food of the Gods by H.G. Wells. One of his best work. And then it goes, sounding the alarm. Is this the new age? Well, just depending on what do you feel the new age is. Sounding the alarm. What do you feel it is? Okay, and 90 says low energy is due to the geoengineering. That's some of it. That's what they're trying to do. But, you should not be even trapped by any geoengineering. So that's one of the tricks they may try to use. But even with that, you still can see through the matrix. So, but very, very good feedback to all. Okay. All right. I know we're like 2 hours before we started the actual topic. Okay, so those of us that are following along with us, we left off page 71, and the book is Giant Cities, of Bashan. Okay, and this was written in 1865. It goes, in former times, a garrison was maintained in the castle of Basra, and I probably read this, y'all, so just be patient with me, by Pasha of Damascus for the purpose of defending the south section of Pashan from the periodical incursions of Bedouin. It has been withdrawn for many years. The destroyer of the Gentiles can now come up. Oh, damn it. Wait a minute, y'all. Before I go into this, I had a couple of follow-up items from last week on our reading. I apologize. Remember, we ran up on him talking about Philip, the Emperor Philip, and I said I was going to do a little research because it kind of sparked me when we were doing the Black Nobility series.
And I said,
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
And I said that was Alexander's father?
Yeah. So I pulled it up. All right. It says, now this is Wikipedia, y'all. Philip the Arab. Now this is the title. Yeah, this is the title but just wait, sis. Listen to the little Wikipedia breakdown. I'm like, okay, so that lines up to what dude in the book was talking about. So it is saying that Marcus Julius Philippus, but also was known as Augustus. But his nickname was Philip the Arab.
Oh.
Yeah, also known as Philip or Philip the First, was Roman emperor. Now, sis, you'll appreciate this. Was Roman emperor from February 244 to September 249. Okay, so nothing in front of that. So, but anyway, he was born in Arabia, Patria, the Roman province of Arabia, in a city situated in modern-day Syria. He went on to become a major figure in the Roman Empire. After the death of Gordian III in February 244, Philip, who had been Praetorian perfect, achieved power. He quickly negotiated peace with the Persian Sassanid Empire. During his reign, the city of Rome celebrated its millennium. Among early Christian writers, Philip had the reputation of being sympathetic to the Christian faith. Probably for this reason, it was even claimed by some that he had converted to Christianity, which would have made him the first Christian emperor. He supposedly tried to celebrate Easter with Christians in Antioch, but the bishop, St. Babylas, made him stand with penitence. Philip and his wife received letters from Origen, and I found that spelling of that interesting because they spell it Origen. So I thought about the state of Oregon, y'all.
Well, you know,
go ahead, sis.
Origin is Negro backwards, too. So that's one of the names that they kind of named us after, because Origin was a scientist of some type, I think.
Let me see. Trying to see, because Wikipedia has a link to that, and they're naming it. They're saying that it was also known as Origin of Alexandria, also known as Origin Adamantus. Was an early Christian scholar and theologian. And he spent half of his career in Alexandria, and he was a prolific writer who wrote roughly 2,000 treatises in multiple branches of theology. Okay, so
Alexander the Great is the one who captured Alexandria. They sacked the whole library and everything.
right.
And they went to the mystery schools and got all the knowledge from them, because he's the one who invaded that area, Alexander the Great, and he did it after his father Felix.
Okay, so I do want to say that Praetorian Perfect, that they said that Philip came from, and I found this interesting, that they're saying it was a high office in the Roman Empire, originating as the commander of the Praetorian Guard. The office gradually acquired extensive legal and administrative function, with its holders becoming the emperor's chief aides. Under Constantine I, the office was much reduced in power and transformed into a purely civilian administrative post, while under his successor. Okay, so the reason I'm just bringing that up, because again, none of the stuff that we see today as far as these governments, governmental, administrative process, courts, it's just a cycle, family. It's a cycle. They set up these particular systems, and they keep running the same program on the populace.
Mm-hmm.
And until people raise their consciousness and go, now why am I allowing someone to rule over me? You'll keep creating that particular reality. Okay, so I did want to give the update on that. Now the other thing, and I told you, Purple Pill, I had something for you. I hadn't forgotten about you. Because last week you talked about, and I respect you on this, you talked about the importance of language, etymology, and I ran across this video and I thought of you. And I know you know this, but I definitely wanted to share it with everyone else. And you were kind of in the chat room too, talking about geometry, arguing back and forth with a sister, but that's okay too. There is a video I want to share with you all. It's off a YouTube channel called Alana Luna, and it's called Sonic Geometry, the Language of Frequency and Form. Okay, so I'm going to play the first half of this. We're going to come back and talk about it, and this is tying back into last week when Dude, the author of this particular book, he was kind of down talking on people, saying, he knows Arabic, and the way the language flows, you have to understand it. And then I kind of said, well, Sean and I kind of talked about, well, isn't Arabic, Hebrew, Sanskrit, cuneiform, can't they all be tied to each other? And would it not make sense if the author knows Hebrew that he would be able to pick up Arabic? Okay, and we got into the discussion how language is basically vibration. Okay, and sure enough, I'm minding my business, la, and ran across this video. So I'm going to play the first half, and then we'll come back and chop it up. So, Purple Pill, I really want your input on this. I know you get this, but here we go. This is 15 minutes for the first part, family. Here we go.
It has been said that if there is ever to be such a thing as a true universal language, it will most likely be expressed in the realms of mathematics, geometry, energy patterns, and frequency. Could it be that this language, or at least the foundation of it, already exists here on Earth? Is it possible that over the course of thousands of years, we have been somehow guided in the process of creating this new form of communication? And if so, what type of information will be conveyed through it that could not be expressed any other way? In the search for answers, we must be prepared to trek through both time and space, to open our eyes and minds wide enough to notice compelling coincidences, and to stand back far enough to see if the building blocks of some kind of mathematical, spatial, frequency-based language emerge. But before we begin our journey, we will pause here in the present day to notice some of the ways that we measure and tabulate the world around us. This is an important step, for how we count and measure things can be as revealing as why we count them. First, we will take a look at the way we measure time. For all practical purposes, the smallest unit is 1 second, and we all know it takes 60 seconds to make a minute, and then 60 of these minutes to make an hour. This hour, of course, is the unit by which we divide our days, and these days become months, years, decades, centuries, and so on. Speaking of 60, let's take a moment to notice that all geometry, whether it is 2 or 3 dimensional, is also derived from base 60 mathematics that provide the foundation for a 360-degree circle, which in turn provides us with all the angles and formulas for creating virtually every shape known to humankind. Now let's look at how many cultures from all over the world have chosen to count and group things. Right away, we see that we have been attracted to the number 12, 12 eggs in a dozen, 12 months in a year, 12 inches in a foot, 12 signs of the zodiac. Strangely, whether it's tallying disciples or mythical gods, the number 12 appears often in the telling of our greatest stories about ourselves. And what about distance? Your local town might be measured in meters or other units, but when we talk about measuring our planet, the standards we all use revert back to base 60 units of miles, minutes, or geometrical degrees. Are you noticing the pattern here? We seem to be encountering a lot of 12s and 60s. Are they related? And if so, how? To answer that piece of the puzzle, we must travel roughly 5,000 years back in time to visit the ancient Sumerian culture of Mesopotamia, for here is where our 1260-based math comes from. This counting system, which was invented by the same people who produced the world's first written language, involved counting the knuckles of the 4 long fingers on one hand and then multiplying them by all 5 digits on the other hand. If you do this, you will get a maximum number of 12 knuckles times 5 fingers, which of course totals 60. How these cosmic jumps in language and mathematics occurred so suddenly is open to debate, but it is interesting to note that the ancient Sumerians themselves wrote about being given this information by sky god visitors they called the Anunnaki. Who and what the Anunnaki were is a hotly contested subject, but one thing that cannot be denied is the fact that over 5,000 years ago, a mathematical system was born that incredibly still serves us today. So now that we have our various units of measurement, all based on the Sumerian 1260 counting system, let's jump forward to a few pivotal moments in history and see what other numbers, patterns, and synchronicities appear. In the 6th century BC, on the Greek island of Samos, the famed mathematician Pythagoras led a school of thought that married philosophy, mathematics, music, and of course geometry. And while Pythagoras did not discover advanced geometry, he did apply it in new ways, especially to music. For instance, he noticed that when a tauten string was plucked, it would create a tone. And when that string was divided in half, it would make the same tone, only twice as high in pitch. Pythagoras then came up with numerical ratios based on harmonic fifths, and this led to the creation of the musical scale found at the root of most modern music. It is important to note that according to Pythagoras, all musical notes were found by using mathematics, and as such were given number values according to their placement in a kind of master grid. For instance, by using fifths beginning from note number 1, he was eventually guided to note 27. And to find the same note twice as high in pitch, he simply kept doubling it to 54, 108, 216, 432, and so on up the scale. If you've ever heard of Pythagorean tuning, you know that the number 432 is quite important. To Pythagoras himself, it probably wouldn't have stood out more than any other in his numerical grid, But in our quest to find a universal language based on mathematics and frequency, this particular note represents a significant piece of coincidental evidence. You see, many ancient musical instruments, from Tibetan bowls to Native American flutes, happen to produce the same tone, a tone that vibrates at 432 cycles per second. That's compelling, but even more intriguing is the fact that Pythagoras was not calculating vibration cycles to find tone 432. It just happens to be the same number. What's more, for decades, most modern musical instruments were also tuned to this same fourth octave A, with a value of 432 cycles. How could this be? Who chose this particular note as the keystone for instrument tuning, and more importantly, why? Here is where a deeper mystery begins to emerge, and to explore it, we will need to go back to Pythagoras' other passion, geometry. It is not an exaggeration to say that to Pythagoras and his disciples, geometry and math held a key to the nature of all life everywhere, and maybe it does. Let's look at the first four geometric shapes, the circle, triangle, square, and pentagon. In each of them are angles of degrees that, when added together, always total a specific number relative to that particular shape. For instance, if we take a triangle, the sum total of all three interior angles is always 180. For both the square and circle, it is 360. For a pentagon, it is 540. Now at this moment, let's step back and look at these numbers in a different way, as there seems to be something about them that reaches beyond a simple sum of angles. Did you notice that they happen to be in the same numerical neighborhood as tone 432? What's more, they all add up to 9, just like 432. As an experiment, let's take a look at the numbers found in basic geometric shapes, then apply those numbers as vibration cycles to hear the tones they produce. First, let's listen to what the 180 total degrees contained in a triangle sound like. And here's a squares and circles 360 in cycles per second. A perfect octave up from the triangle. What about the pentagon at 540? That sounds like a harmonic fifth of the other two. That's interesting. What are these tones? They are F sharp and its perfect harmonic fifth of C sharp. Let's keep going. What does a hexagon 720 sound like? Another F sharp. Here's a seven-sided septagon, which totals 900. This is an A sharp, which happens to be the note required to complete an F sharp major chord in perfect three-part harmony. And finally the octagon, where we get 1080, another C sharp. Suddenly, geometry is expressed by tones, and these tones just happen to create the most beautiful form of music, a perfect three-part major chord in the key of F sharp. Is this something we've been missing for years? Is it important? To the famous philosopher and mathematician Plato, the answer would have been a resounding yes, for it is Plato who advanced the study of two-dimensional geometry into three-dimensional geometry, and who began to recognize that nature, whether expressed as a tone, the petal design of a flower, or the spiraling design of a seashell, seemed to follow a 3D mathematical pattern. In fact, it became an obsession of Plato to try and find the simplest three-dimensional geometric shapes, and his quest ultimately revealed what we now call the Platonic solids. In essence, these forms represent the most elemental construction blocks found both in human-made and natural forms. So let's see if and how they fit into our geometry tone grid. First, there is the tetrahedron, or a three-sided pyramid comprised of four interlocking triangles. As we did before, let's add up all the angles found in those four triangles. The answer, 720, which we have already seen is the tone F sharp. Next, we have the cube, whose six 360-degree squares totals 2160. What does it sound like? 2160 is a high C sharp, and as you will see later, a very interesting number for other reasons as well. Next up is the octahedron. Constructed of 8 triangles, this shape totals 1440, which is another perfect F sharp higher up the scale. The icosahedron is made up of 20 triangles, so the total number of degrees is 3600. As a tone, 3600 vibration cycles create the A sharp needed to complete yet another F sharp major chord that sounds like this. At this point, we have seen how 2- and 3-dimensional geometry can be expressed by the notes found in an F sharp major chord. Could this also be true with what is known as sacred geometry? To find out, we will first need to build a design called the germ of life, which, when repeated, goes on to reveal the seed of life, then flower of life pattern found at sacred sites all over the world. First, we start with a circle at 360 degrees, which is the familiar F sharp. We then add our second circle, bringing the total to 720, another F sharp. 3 circles totals 1080, which provides the harmonic fifth of C sharp. 4 circles is 1440, another F sharp. 5 circles totals 1800, or the A sharp needed to once again provide the harmonic third of an F sharp major chord. And finally the 6th circle, which brings the total to 2160, another C sharp. Amazing! It's as if we can now both see and hear the flower of life pattern that has intrigued humankind for thousands of years. So now we have 2-dimensional geometry, 3-dimensional geometry, and even sacred geometry being represented by different variations of an F sharp major chord. How is this not common knowledge? How have we missed this connection? There are actually 3 explanations. 1, for reasons ranging from the mundane to the conspiratorial, musical instruments are no longer tuned to an A vibrating at 432 cycles per second, but rather 440. 2, modern tuning calls for equal temperament, which no longer adheres to Pythagoras' whole number simplicity. And 3, the tuning method required to reveal geometric shapes is based on a mathematical grid rather than mathematical ratios. This grid, if it had a name, would probably be called something like factor 9, because the number 9 is found not only in the sum of every note on the grid, but also as the number required to move up or down the scale. For instance, if we started at note A at 216 cycles, all we would have to do is add or subtract the number 9 to reveal all the other tones in that octave. And it is here, on this incredible factor 9 grid, that we find not just some of our geometric numbers, but all of them. Conversely, modern A440 tuning reveals not one correlation to geometric numbers. Now let's go back for a moment and take a look at one of these numbers, 2160. The number expressed by both the cube and the germ of life pattern. You may have already noticed that without the 0, it is exactly half of our magic 432. That's worth noting, but what is even more intriguing is the way this number keeps showing up in other large-scale measurements. To discover one of these measurements, we will need to jump forward from Plato's time to when the Mayan civilization was flourishing. Roughly 1500 years ago, Mayan stargazers were the most accomplished astronomers the world had ever known. Their concept of cyclical time led to many incredible discoveries. The accurate length of a year, the exact dates of seasonal changes, even the moments when solar and lunar eclipses would occur. But their most amazing discovery was of something known as the precession of the equinox, which makes note of a very slow wobble of Earth's axis. Somehow aware of the fact that this wobble takes 25,920 years to complete, the Mayans called this cycle one great year, with each of its 12 great months requiring 2160 Earth years to complete. And what about this? Did you know that the diameter of our moon, when measured in miles, also happens to total, you guessed it, 2160? Lastly, watch what happens when we apply simple division to this highly synchronous number. 2160 divided by 2 is 1080.
Okay. Sorry about that. I had to split the video up in half. Okay, so that was the first half. Again, I want to give credit to the YouTube channel that comes off of Alana Luna, and the name of that video is Sonic Geometry, the language of frequency and form. So I'll pause in case somebody wants to put something on it before I go into the second half, and then I'm going to read some of Purple Pill's feedback. So, Brother Sean or Sis.
It's interesting about the 432, but now how the industry standard is 440 hertz, which is an 8.
Which is a what? Loop. Yeah.
And that was the main thing with music. That's what they always concentrated on, even back when I was doing music. You wanted to have that right hook. The hook was the most important part of the song. And that's the thing that got people. The hook, the chorus.
That's a good point. Purple Pill says. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
Because that's the first thing you remember from a song.
It's the hook.
You remember the hook, right?
Yeah.
You don't even like the song, but you be sitting there.
Right.
When it come on, you be sitting up humming the hook. So you do
disgusting all throughout the song, but it's the hook. Damn, the hook or the loop. Very good point.
Now, the track is looped in hip hop. You think about it, they take a sample and they loop it.
Yes. Dang. Very good point. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
But we were talking about that a while back, how they done changed it so it makes a disconnect. You want an eighth, and I think it's eighth of a note, and it throws off the frequency. And a lot of people are going really wacky with this new change. And that's how come they got all these people that just is a 16th off on their notes. And the people are, they love it. But it's also not giving peace to the soul, to the spirit.
Right.
And it's changing the frequency of the people on this planet. Remember, they worked on this in the 30s to do that.
That's what Purple Pill dropped in the chat.
That they did that purposely to control your mind, and it's just like they do it with the frequency of the TV stuff and the commercials. So your right brain is picking up what the commercials are saying, and you're not even hearing it with your audible ear. And so that makes people who are prone to violence, I believe, more violent. And they're doing it purposely. People are shooting people up nowadays for no reason at all because their frequency is being altered in this planet.
Right. And, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that at the end of the day, this is all about vibration / frequency. But Purple Pill talked about how 440 was derived from Joseph Goebbels or Goebbels, I don't know which one it is. And after he instituted the 440, that's when, so switching from the 432 to 440, World War II was right after that. Makes a lot of sense. So, and then, wait a minute, I know you said something, I got to scroll back up, because you also mentioned, I saw where you had it on there. Oh, well, I thought I saw something and I didn't see it. Okay, so so that's the first half. I wanted us to, you'll appreciate this. You all will appreciate this, especially the ones that were with us with the Black Nobility series. Because remember when we did it and we talked about the word Dublin and how it means black. And so Purple Pill threw in here, don't they well, he said dubbing, so I knew what he meant when he said dubbing in music. And so dub equals black. Go bells. Okay, so it is go bells. So yeah, go bells changed the frequency in the music from 432 to 440. So again, that's why I say it is important for us to pay attention to your vibratorial state. You're responsible for how you want your vibratory state to resonate. Okay, but if we're so concentrated and plugged into the matrix, their entire goal, these entities, is to keep your vibratorial state low so they can feed off of you. Because when you're resonating high, and this particular video, they went through the pitches for you to hear the ranges. And if you look at the video, they'll show you the geometric shapes that are associated with those tones. Okay, but the higher your frequency is, the lower level entities cannot feed off of you, because that energy is harmful to them. So if we start to wake up from a consciousness perspective and enter and understand that everything is energy, it's frequency, it'll start to make a lot of sense to you, and you'll make different decisions and different choices. So in other words, if it is not in your best interest from a vibratory perspective, so why again are you even dipping and dabbing in it? Isn't it self-sabotage? Unless you like the lower realms and you like to still dance in those games with the lower realm, then yeah, that's fine. Okay? And then another point I wanted to make when we were talking on the flat earth, the globe, and all of that, the geometry again, because everything has a frequency and vibration. So even the things we're calling planets, whether or not you want to say is flat, round, square, whatever the case may be, it also vibrates. And again, if you go to YouTube and look at folks that have spent their money on the equipment to point their cameras and their drones to the sky and zoomed in on these, what they're calling planets, but look like luminaries, you will see these geometric shapes. And you will see them dancing or moving or vibrating.
Right.
So that proves that even what we're calling planets are moving at a vibratory rate, and there is an associated sacred geometry shape that shows up to that as well. Okay? All right, so bear with me, family. I know we still ain't got to the little giants, but I did want to do this important follow-up. I'm going to play the second half of this, and then we're going to move on. Yes, it is. It is very important, purple field geometry. Sacred geometry is very, very important. So I'm just hoping that we are starting to take in this sacred knowledge and use it to your benefit to raise your consciousness and vibration. And that's what's going to shape the reality. That's what shapes the reality. It's vibration. That's what shapes the reality. Okay? And those that we are saying, and a good point, because I forgot who brought it up. I don't know if it was 909, you brought it up, but somebody talked about geoengineering. So think about geometry engineering. Okay? So folks have just taken these sacred sciences and reversed them to keep the consciousness level low. Okay? Through sound, through words, because words also resonate with frequency. All right. Okay, so I'll shut up and get to the second part. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
You could also take that geoengineering to geographical engineering, a much kinder word than terraforming.
Very good point. Yeah, and Purple Pill goes, have you noticed they don't teach geometry anymore in school? They teach us now algebra. Yeah, and algebra, which is what? Is abstracts, right? And fractions of this and theories of that. So excellent point. Excellent point. Okay, I'm going to play the second half. I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
If I remember correctly, though, we had algebra before geometry.
Yeah, but remember, though, that we dating ourselves, though. For giving out our classes. But now remember, though,
right.
You didn't have to. You only had to take out. This was back in our day for the youngins and the millennials, so don't sit up and laugh at us. Remember, you had to take algebra to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
When you start getting into them higher maths, that was considered advanced classes and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Algebra, geometry, and then trig.
Then trigonometry, yep.
Then calculus. But they should have
been starting with geometry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they real slick with it, Purple Pill. Absolutely. Absolutely. So parents, you teach your babies the basic geometry and sacred sciences. That's what the universe is made of. Each one of those, as you heard the man in this video explain, ties back to numbers, ties back to geometry, and it's tied to sound or vibration. That is the fabric of the universe. All that other stuff is after-the-fact theories that they're using to confuse the populace of the real stuff. Even the alphabet, we've talked about this before. The alphabet represents the different numbers. So A is 1, B is 2, etc. C is 3, on down the line. The alphabets derive from those different languages, from the Hebrew, the Sanskrit, the cuneiform, were really just angles of light.
Right.
So they took the different angles of light to create language. And that's why language has been bastardized to control the frequency.
Right. It's cursing people.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's at Fabrinucci. Was it Fabrinucci?
And
principle?
That's the sacred geometry flower that he talks about.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
so
crazy.
Simple things. The geometry, simple with their shapes. That's what we should be making sure our babies enter and understand.
You know, it'd be interesting if we ever go back to non-speech and how much the planet would recover without us getting up every day cursing it instead of blessing it.
Well, even the word blessed is a curse.
I know it. That's what I'm saying. We can't even use that word.
That's be led.
Like hello is hell below to you.
Exactly.
So you have to. It's very hard with this language. With language, we should go back to pictures or telepathics. I don't know what we got to go back to, but we got to change from what we're doing because we're not doing any good to the planet.
And I totally agree with you, sis. But it's not like it can't be done. Again, it still starts consciously.
Yeah.
It starts consciously.
Mhm.
And then, we can keep going. Yep, and not only the shape, but rather the angels, i.e. angles. Yeah, because angels are just angles of light. Because at the end of the day, that's what you are.
Well, in the luminaries, the angles or the angels are put as luminaries in the sky. That's what that video was showing, that the angles of the luminaries are actually angels encased inside. It was really weird to see that.
Indeed. Okay, so let me get to part 2. Then we're going to come back and chop it up. Okay, Purple Pill, have your listening ears on. To drop your jewels in the chat. Okay, here we go.
The angle sum of the octagon. By 3, 720, the total of the hexagon. By 4, 540, the pentagon. And by 5, are you ready? It's the ketone of 432. And by 6, 360, the number of both the square and circle. All F sharps and C sharps, with our 432A thrown into the mix, as if it were some kind of clue to solving a cosmic riddle. Maybe we should look at this number even more closely. As we've stated, our closest celestial neighbor, the Moon, is 2160 miles across, and 216 is exactly half of 432. What about the other large object in our sky? Were you aware that our Sun is 864,000 miles across? Incredibly, where the Moon's base number sequence is half of 432, the Sun's number sequence is exactly twice 432. And do you know how many seconds there are in a day? 86,400, or 43,200 for the 12 hours of day, and 43,200 for the 12 hours of night. Or try this. Take the 360 degrees found in the circular shape of our Sun and Moon, and then multiply it by the 12 hours of either day or night. The answer, 4320. Or how about this? What is the only whole number that, when squared, comes to within 0.01% accuracy to measuring the speed of light? 432. What is going on here? We have all these different things: Earth cycles, time and celestial measurements, geometry, sonic frequency, yet they are all represented by the same numbers over and over again. To answer that, we must search for the factor common to all of them, and that common factor is the 5,000-year-old Sumerian 1260 counting system. It is what gave us the inches to a foot, the seconds to a minute, and the 360 degrees in geometry. It's almost as if the sky god visitors, who the Sumerians called the Anunnaki, provided humanity with a counting system that would lead to the discovery of these synchronicities. Could it be that the number 432 really is some kind of cosmic key that unlocks a language of higher understanding? And if so, have these sky visitors ever been back to make sure we don't miss the importance of the 432 matrix? One possible answer can be found in the story of a man named George Van Tassel, a respected aeronautical engineer who believed he was contacted by extraterrestrial beings in the early 1950s. During this encounter, Van Tassel said he was provided with a mathematical formula that could be used for everything from time travel to sound frequency healing, and which he used to build the world-famous Integratron near Joshua Tree, California. What is this formula? It is F equals 1 over T, or frequency equals one particular something divided by the number of time. Well, what if that one something was the biggest one on our planet, the one great year of 25,920 discovered by the Mayans? And what if the number for time was the most logical choice of 60? Suddenly, this mysterious equation is expressed as frequency equals 25,920 divided by 60. Are you ready for the answer? It's 432. Not only the frequency that instruments all of the world have been tuned to for thousands of years, but also the number that reveals the synchronistic nature of life on this planet. Noticing all these coincidences revealed by the 432 matrix and the Sumerian counting system, we must wonder if other ancient cultures were aware of them as well. Just scratching the surface, it would seem that they were. For example, let's take the Sumerian 12 and square it for a total of 144. Right off, we see that it is indeed a number and tone contained within our factor 9 grid. Expanding outward, we find 1440, then 144,000, which is a number that appears all over the world in the most compelling of ways. Take, for instance, the Great Pyramid of Giza. It happens to have been covered with 144,000 smooth white casing stones. To ancient Mayans, 144,000 days was the length of their 394-year back tune, a time cycle which has just begun again. In the Bible, we read that there will be 144,000 chosen ones redeemed from the earth prior to the apocalypse. Obviously, number sequences like these have been significant to many different cultures and religious sects, and to one enigmatic group in particular, the Freemasons. Were the earliest Masons, the supposed keepers of sacred information, also aware of the factor 9 grid, the 432 key, and the number 144,000? Their infatuation with the numbers 3 and 13 might be telling. For instance, if you divide 144,000 by 432, the answer is 333.3 into infinity. Or take a look at the back of a dollar bill. That famous unfinished pyramid could be revealing some interesting clues. For instance, there are 13 steps climbing the pyramid, and 13 times 33.3 is 432.9. Even the shape of the flat-topped pyramid appears to be made as if someone had drawn 4 dots in a line, then 3 above it, then 2 above that, and then connected those dots to reveal this iconic shape. And of course, let's not forget that the square root of our all-important factor 9 grid is 3 threes. Who else knew about 432? The answer is surprising. In India, large cycles of time are called Kali Yugas, and each one is 432,000 years long. In fact, the number 432 appears so often in sacred structures and myths, from Stonehenge to the pyramids, that author Joseph Campbell could not help but see it as the most important mythological number in history. So what do we have here? What is it that's trying to be expressed by all of these coincidences? One answer is that over the course of history, we have been somehow guided toward both the subconscious creation and eventual conscious recognition of a grand pattern based on frequency, mathematics, time, space, and geometry. Quite possibly, these synchronistic numbers, shapes, and tones represent the building blocks of a language that we do not yet fully understand, but could turn out to be the most important language we will ever learn. How will we use it? Who will we be conversing with? Time will tell. Thousands of years ago, from locations all over the globe, various prophets, shamans, and seers described an era when humanity would make some kind of cosmic leap into a next level of consciousness. Here, at the dawning of the age of Aquarius and the start of a new Mayan back-tune cycle, maybe it's happening.
Okay, family. So, again, that video was off the YouTube channel, Alana Luna, Sonic Geometry, the Language of Frequency and Form. So, again, I wanted to share that with you all because, Purple Pill kind of brought up some things on language last week. It was brought up in the book by the author. I know we've talked about it several times as well, and we are going to put together another show on the different ancient languages on Sanskrit, cuneiform, Hebrew, and Arabic pretty soon.
I was listening to a video, and he was talking about the Anunnaki, and he was talking about the age of Aquarius really jumps off in 2025, and that is when this new dawn of the new age, the new everything is supposed to take place by 2025. I've heard it at 2020 and 2021, and the frequency will change, and the people who want to stay up there will stay up there, the people who go down will go down, and it's all relative to what you want to do. And they even said it was a time for the renewing of life, where you don't have to die like we have been doing, because the Anunnaki gave us a time frame because of the Tower of Babel of 120 years. But now when the golden age of knowledge comes, then all that curse is lifted. That's what he was saying in this video I was seeing.
Okay. And so I just want to kind of run back through some of those numbers, and that's why every time I see numbers or I hear numbers, I literally do the calculation to get the particular frequency that it's resonated with. So now, what year did you say that they said everything was going to flip? What did you say, 20, 25?
Uh-huh.
So what's 2 plus 5?
7 and 9. It's going to be a total.
Okay, so there goes that 9. Okay, so what was the other year? You said 2020, right?
2020 and between 2020 and 2021.
Right. So 2020, when you put 11, that
11.
represents manifestation. If you put 11 plus 11, that's double manifestation, or 22. So, doesn't surprise me that they're putting out information like that, but I do want to preference it with, it's not what the Anunnaki gave us. That's just how the universe operates. Now,
well, they just saying that's the one away from.
Yeah. I'm just putting that out there as a disclaimer. I'm not, trying to dispute anything. I'm just putting that out there as a disclaimer to the family. That they enter and overstood the sacred geometry and how it intertwines with the realm.
Right.
So purple pill goes, it could be as long as 2016 years till Aquarius. So 216 years. My bad. That's still a 9, though, purple pill. Depending on... What you say, sis?
So tell them to go away. I want to see the dawning of the real...
Well, you didn't even let me finish reading in purple pill. You didn't even let me finish reading. So purple pill goes, it could be as long as 216 years till Aquarius, depending on what calendar/timeline. Okay, because we have to remember again that timelines have been manipulated for that purpose, for you not to even know where you are in the cycle. So purple pill said could be. I don't know exactly, purple pill, exactly. Because, they altered on purpose the different calendars, cycles, and all of that.
The 360 versus 365 years in the days in the year and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
All that stuff has been changed.
Exactly. So again, that's why vibration. I'm gonna keep saying that, and I've been saying this for so many years. That's why the vibration is important, because you're supposed to be feeling these things and knowing these things through the vibration versus what somebody is saying, because we know that the timelines have been altered.
Well, we do know that the people are showing that they are affected by something, because it is so off the charts. The weather systems are off the chain, off the hook, and there's so much political explosions of destruction going on. They tearing each other up.
Right, like, and as Grandma and Big Mama and them used to say, I feel it in my bones. So you're supposed to be feeling it in your bones on what is going on.
Right, you can see it too.
Yeah. So I did want to bring up one other thing. Purple Pill goes that number 144, and shout out to I want to say this was Brother Panic. Did a video about that number 144 and what it meant and that biblical perspective. And Purple Pill right away said 144 equals 7. 7 chakras activated. So again, it's about energy / vibration. I'm going to say this again. At the end of the day, you are angels of light. You are the angels. Everybody has a frequency resonating around them. That's what your aura is called. Okay?
Well,
and
that was the reason why when you...
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
Understand the reason when you lose the fleshly part, then all you see is the light. Remember
Exactly. So where I was going with that, we're about to go into overtime in the chat room in about 2 minutes. So if you want to still join us, you have to dial 929-477-3858, 929-477-3858. And if you're not able to join us, I want to thank you all so much. Thank you, Purple Pill. Enjoyed you as well. Please come back and visit us. Thank you, 9090. Appreciate you as well. Please come back and visit us. Okay, so what I was saying, we are angels of light. So how you vibrate, everybody has a vibratory rate. It's what color or angle of light you are emitting, which that's what your aura is. Okay? Why do you think they call Aurora Borealis Aurora? Because that is Mother Earth's aura or angle of light. And even she is different frequencies. Okay? So same difference. Absolutely same thing. Okay, so again, at the end of the day, family, this is about you as the angle of light, which frequency you are going to emit. So depending on which frequency you are going to emit is depending on what your experience is.
That's truth.
The lower
that brings me back to Oprah Winfrey.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
Excuse me. I didn't mean to interrupt. I keep doing that tonight.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Oprah Winfrey, when that airplane was burning, and when the people were burning in the airplane, they were emitting different light frequencies as they burnt up. Remember that one?
Now, what did Oprah have to do with that, or did I hear you wrong?
No, you heard me. She had a guest on who was in, I think it was 101, American Airlines 101 or something like that. Long time ago. She was interviewing a survivor of the airline crash. I think it ran off the runway or something like that, and the people were trapped in their seats, and as they were leaving their earthly core, the body, he saw the many light colorations difference.
That would make sense.
Yeah, that's what he said. Some was real bright and some were real dark.
Yeah. So depending. So, if you just go do a little research, we did a show before on the chakras and the energy and the color spectrum. So red being your root or lower chakra, and the purple, your third eye, and then your crown chakra, top layer, the lotus flower. Okay, right? So these are the things that have been hidden. Okay, these are the things that folks think that these secret societies have so much spookism and so much knowledge. No, they don't. It's just sacred science.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simple sacred science. It's a hell of a lot simple than what they're teaching in physics.
Yeah.
These are the secrets that they are holding from you. These are the things that they use in their secret societies to make their folks move up the different scales. And you have to, even in their particular secret societies, get into like the inner realm of the circle, even to get those nuggets.
Right.
Because it's the people that's holding that knowledge, feeding off of the auras or the frequencies or the angles of light of others. Okay? So again, you are responsible for your vessel. You are responsible for your ship, your vessel. You control your angle of light. Okay? And we are still going to do a show once we finish up this Giant series, also on going a little bit deeper into the angles of light, because we're going to tie it all into the plasma and tie it into even the X chromosome and the XY chromosome. All of it is tied together because it comes from the one source, the all in all. Okay, so I did want to share that with the family to get back to give a little extra on what we talked about on language, because it is extremely important, family. The geometry, the language, it's all tied together. It's what governs the frequency and the energy. So you just have to start practicing these things for self to control your reality. And once you start doing that, it doesn't matter what supposedly they are doing, because you are driving your vessel. That's what ascension is about. Not waiting on somebody else to do XYZ for you, not waiting on a group of people to get together to do XYZ. You have to be the driver of your ship, or the conductor of your own symphony. You are a symphony. So you emit sound from your frequency as well. So what key are you? Are you resonating with 432? Or are you resonating with 440? It's your choice. So, okay. Okay. All right. So here we go. I know we only have like less than an hour for the Giants stuff. Sorry, but we had to get all of that out. Okay. Ooh, Dag, let me make sure. Brother Sean, you still there? Hopefully he didn't drop off. Yeah, it looked like he's still there. If not, I can't get him back. Let me make sure because he's been too quiet. Brother Sean, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just
listening. Okay, I just want to make sure. I didn't know if you got kicked off. And I'm like, we just went into overtime. Okay. All right, so here we go. So he's talking about in former times, a garrison was maintained in the castle of Basra by the Pasha of Damascus for the purpose of defending the southern section of Bashan from the periodical incursions of the Bedouin. It has been withdrawn for many years. The destroyer of the Gentiles can now come unrestrained. The spoilers can now come upon all high places through the wilderness. The sword, and remember, Brother Sean, you kind of broke down the etymology of sword. What is the etymology? What is that masked as well? That's what sword is masked as from a word perspective. Words. Exactly. Words. Okay? Just proving our point. Because actually, the words are mightier than that sword. Okay? So it's no accident that what we're calling words is a play on language of sword. I'm sorry, go ahead on, sis.
Sword is words backwards.
Exactly.
And in the book it says towards the end of the age or the end of time or end of the world or whatever, it says when the fullness of the Gentiles have come. I'm like, That's why I was asking you when we were reading the King James thing, who does he say the Gentiles are? I was laying dead to hear that one. We pretty much know who they are, but yeah, that's that when that time, what that guy said in that book, when the Gentiles have come to their fullness, and then it's over. That's what the scripture. I'm just saying.
Okay, and actually, he's about to give a scripture. The sword now devours from the one end of the land even to the other end of the land. So he quotes Jeremiah. The cities are without inhabitant. The houses are without man. The land is utterly desolate. Judgment has come upon it all, far and near, in a word. The whole of Bashan and Moab is one great fulfilled prophecy. We were conducted by our intelligent guide to a large church, apparently the ancient cathedral, I'm getting hoarse, Basra. It is built in the form of a Greek cross, and on the walls of the chancel are some remains of rude frescoes representing saints and angels. Over the door is an inscription stating that the church was founded by Julianus, Archbishop of Basra, in the year AD 513, in honor of the blessed martyr Sergius, Bacchus, and Leotius. Our guide called the building the Church of the Monk Bahara, and a very old tradition represents this monk as playing an important part in the early history of Mohammedanism. It is said he was a native of this city. There goes that native again. That being expelled from his convent, he joined the Arabian prophet and aided in writing the Quran. supplying all the stories from the Bible, the Talmud, and the spurious Gospels, which make up so large a part of that remarkable book. Okay, and I guess I would have to do research of which is older, the Bible or the Quran. I'll come back with that next week, family. I'll come back with those receipts next week. All right, so not far from the church is the principal mosque built, it is said, by the Caliph Omar. The room was supported on columns or colonnades like the early basilica, and 17th of the columns are monoliths of white marble of great beauty. 2 of them have inscriptions showing that they formerly belonged to some church, but probably they were originally intended to ornament a Greek temple. Okay, that's fair. Okay, we extended our walk one day to the suburbs on the north and west, where there are remains of some large and splendid buildings. We then proceeded to the west gate at the end of the main street. The ancient pavement of the street and of the road which runs across the plain to, what is that, Gisam, is quite perfect, not a stone out of place. The gate has a single but spacious Roman arch ornamented with pilasters and niches. Outside is a guardhouse of the same style and period. Sitting down on the broken wall of this little building, I gazed long on the ruins of the city and on the vast desert plain. My companions had taken shelter from a shower in a vacant niche, and now there was not a human being, there was not a sign of life within the range of vision. The open gate revealed heaps of rubbish and piles of stones and shattered walls. In the distance, a solitary column stood here and there, and the triumphal arch, which rose over all around it, appeared as if built to celebrate the triumph of desolation. The desolation of the plain without was as complete as that of a city within. Never before had I seen such a picture of utter, terrible desolation except at Palmyra. And even there it was not so remarkable. That city of the desert might rise and flourish for a season, while the tide of commerce was rolling past it, and while it stood a solitary oasis on the desert highway uniting the eastern and western worlds. But on the opening up of some other channel of communication, it might naturally decline the fall. Basra is altogether different. It was situated in the midst of a fertile plain, in the center of a populous province. It had abundant resources, fountains of water, and impregnable. Oh, yeah, he even threw a sketch up in here. All right, I got to get past the sketch. And it does look like a Greek or Roman building. Sorry, let me scroll down. Fortress. Why should Basra become desolate? Who would have ventured to predict its ruin? It surely was no city to grow up in a day and fade in a night. It surely did not depend for prosperity on the changeable channel of commerce. Something above and beyond mere natural causes and influences must have operated here. We can only understand its strange history when we read it in the light of prophecy. Then we can see the impress of a mightier than human hand. We can see that the curse of an angry God for the sin of a rebellious people has fallen upon Basra and upon all the cities of the land of Moab, far and near. So he's quoting Jeremiah. So that's interesting. I guess I'll read a little more because I'm not. Who's he talking about being cursed? Is it the indigenous people of the land, or is it his people that got cursed by his God? All right, so 2 Basras are mentioned in the Bible. Okay, he finna tell us, y'all. One was in Edom and is referred to in the well-known passage, "Who is that come from Edom with dyed garments from Basra?" So he's quoting out of Isaiah, y'all. Upon this ancient city's judgments are pronounced in connection with Edom and Teman, whose inhabitants dwelt in the clefts of the rocks and the heights of the hills, and made their houses like the nest of the eagles. He's quoting Jeremiah again. When pronouncing judgment upon Moab, the same prophet says, judgment is come upon the plain country. And he names the cities which stood in the plain, and among them are Beth-Grammol, Kiraroth, and Basra. So he's quoting out of Jeremiah. Sorry, go ahead, sis. I know you want to put something in on that.
You know it. Okay. Lot had 2 daughters. And one of the daughters, I don't know which one it was, had the Moabites, or the Moors. And they were cursed. Lot's wife, when they were fleeing the nuclear holocaust of Sodom and Gomorrah, his daughters and Lot was the only ones that survived. So that's who they're talking about, because they were worshiping gods in high places. And they were going up to temples in high places with the Moabite priestess.
Interesting. I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
That's who was cursed. The
so,
Moabite.
You know what? Now that's interesting. So let's talk about who they was worshiping. So, other words, and I need you to tell me, because I'm just asking the question. So, were they worshiping other gods or deities besides their Israelite or Hebrew God?
Yeah. See,
so
Lot was Abraham.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Lot was Abraham's nephew, and Abraham was worshiping the God of, creation and whatever. And Lot went into Sodom and fell prey to that.
Okay, so
remember that? What's his name? The Anunnaki Enlil. Cursed Sodom and Gomorrah and made that nuclear explosion happen there.
Okay, so my next question is: do you think the land of Sodom, the worship that they were doing was like the indigenous people of that land, their particular worship, or they just didn't go into it deep enough?
They didn't go into it, but I read in some other book that the people were robbing and killing travelers as they went through the land, because they couldn't be there at nighttime traveling through, because a stranger that was traveling through that land would be robbed and murdered, and that was their punishment. Now the Bible says they were doing homosexuality, but that is what I read. So and that was
very interesting.
So when Enlil, when he cursed that place, he cursed them for something. I can't remember what he cursed them for, But he because they were doing sins. They were partying all night, having sex like they were going crazy, and he couldn't get no sleep. That's what he said, right? So he said, we got to get rid of riffraff. And he got rid of that creation because they were these stuff. That's what it says in that version of it.
Yeah. And see, I can't remember if it was tied to them not working the way they wanted them to work.
They were fornicating all night long and partying. And he was complaining in the book of Enki that he couldn't sleep because they were not doing what they were supposed to do, was mating with their own mates instead of having all these orgies they were having. That's what he said.
Okay, so do you think it was more of mixing of the bloodlines and mixing with those indigenous people? Or was it that, or a combination of both, kicking it?
Or bestiality. They were doing everything they wanted to do, as far as I can recall. And like I said, I read another version is that they were killing and robbing strangers. When they came through their land at night, you couldn't go through that land at night or you would be
like
dead.
The hood, basically. So like the first hood on record, per se.
Exactly. With anything necessary, anything went. They stole. They would rob. Like say for Lot, when the men came to his door, some angels came to visit Lot. It was 3 of them, I think it was, and they came to visit Lot, and Lot recognized them as angels or light, and offered his daughters instead. But they didn't want
that story. I remember
they didn't want the daughters. They wanted the men. Mm-hmm. And there was no righteousness to be found, and that's why that area got cursed. And everybody there that had that tainted blood, I suppose, they destroyed it all.
But now here's the interesting part, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start some mess. Because didn't throughout this text, the author admitted that the Israelites are not indigenous to that land?
Yeah.
So who ghettoized the land? It was the Israelites. Wasn't the indigenous people?
Well,
they
went.
The land.
See, Lot went into the land, and with his family, Abraham gave Lot his portion, and Abraham took his people away, according to what the script says.
Right, but Abraham didn't own no portion to give Lot, because they weren't indigenous to that area.
But he bought the cave of it started with a B. I can't remember. He bought that cave. He did buy the land.
Oh, okay. So he bought that particular piece, although they just had been raising hell and taking people's stuff up to that point. But he bought that particular cave. Okay, so who did he buy it from, indigenous or native?
Yeah, indigenous.
Oh, okay then. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he bought indigenous.
Okay, well, I'm going to say again. Now, I'm just basing it on what Blood is saying up in this book. He said that the Israelites were not indigenous to the land. They were natives of the land. So they ghettoized the area. So they got wiped out of the area that they stole.
But Abraham only bought a cave. He didn't buy the whole land. He bought enough for his burial and stuff. That's what he did. But there were people there who worshipped another god. And Lot went to live with those people. There was people there. So
right.
he took his family
But they
and
were
went that way.
they got upset though because they were worshiping other gods, but the Israelites God, right?
No, they got upset because the Israelites had started worshiping the foreign gods.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
understand
what I'm
it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't understand it because Moses was married to a Moabite, and Ruth was a Moabite.
Right, but remember we discussed that. If you go back to Sean dropped off, so I'm gonna have to bring him back in. I'm gonna text him but the point I'm trying to get at though is that remember we said the game never changed because the men wind up
with the
marrying the indigenous people of the land,
yeah,
right?
They were. Yeah, they did. It was against the law.
Yep. So let me see if Brother Sean, doggone it, I don't know if I got him on. Hold on a second. I think I'm conferencing in, Brother Sean. Hold on a second, sis. Brother Sean, you there? Okay. I'm going to open up my line. Hold on a second. Okay, Brother Sean. There you go. I just need to switch lines to bring you on. So, sis, can you hear us?
You got an echo now.
Yeah, you have an echo.
Okay, yeah, I just closed out the other line. Hopefully the echo is gone.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool beans. Okay, damn, sis, you know I'm getting old. Now, what was I saying?
You were wondering about the men marrying into the indigenous people.
Yeah, so that's the point I was trying to make. So, yeah, that's why Moses married a Moabite because they had taken the indigenous people's land. So that's why I go back to...
Where you at, girlfriend? You gone away.
Oh.
Well, you know, Moses was raised by the Pharaoh, and he didn't really know he was a Hebrew. So, you know, all the straight love and war. Moses didn't even know, according to the script, that he was a Hebrew. His mother left him in a basket and floated him up the Nile, and the princess of the palace, her servants, found him. So if you're not brought up with the strict bringing up of the culture, you're going to stray. And that's what he did.
So how did can you hear me now, sis?
I can hear you well. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So then how did he stray? Just by marrying the Moabite?
No, he also killed a dude. He found out that the people that the Pharaoh was prosecuting, and he was the Pharaoh's grandson, being the mother that raised him. And then he started learning his heritage. And one of the guards was, you know, being cruel to the Hebrews. And you know, and I went into a Jewish.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that one? To a Jewish library. And I went into a Jewish encyclopedia book. And guess what color they have as the captives of the Egyptians? They don't have their colors. They have our color there. Darkest night.
So in other words, accuracy.
Yes. Lots of accuracy. And so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So Moses fought them and killed that dude. And then he had to escape. Mm-hmm.
Right, but I still go back to the point. Did he not take his orders from his God to go take other people's land?
Moses wasn't, as far as I'm concerned, he wasn't given an order to do that. All he was given order was to tell the Pharaoh to let his people go. I don't know about taking other people's land. the only reason that I think that came about is when he went through Moabite's land. When he went through the Moabites' land, the Moabites refused to give him passage. And they had to go all the way around and waste more years to get through. That's the only thing I know about him. Now, Joshua, I don't even think he was a Hebrew, to be honest with him and Caleb. I don't think they had Hebrew blood at all. I think they kind of like converted and became part of.
Okay, part of it. Got you. But their bloodline didn't tie down.
Their bloodline wasn't Israelite. So, and Joshua, Moses handed it over to Joshua and Caleb because they had enough courage to stand against giants.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's how and I guess they needed fierce leaders to take the people through the wilderness.
Right. Okay, I'm sorry, Brother Sean. Go. Say what you was gonna say.
Didn't Moses murder his wife's people?
I thought some fuckery went down with him. Yeah, that's what I'm like. I know something was up where somebody got took over.
And God told him to do that. After they saved him out in the wilderness, dude taught him how to be a shepherd, gave him his daughter.
No. Moses found her at the well, and the guys were harassing her. She went to draw water, her and the other girls. That's how Moses met his wife.
But either way, I'm saying he met her, married her.
He did kill an Egyptian.
Well, that's when he escaped. We know that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
We're talking about during his 40 years in the wilderness and conquest. After he left there with her, this, that, or the other, he eventually went back there and murdered her people. And in his army.
Oh, but he did have some battles with somebody, but I can't remember who they were. He
did
have some.
With her family, with her people, and he murdered them.
Well, if you're fighting in the battle, you consider that murder. I guess you
in the battle with your wife's people.
I don't remember who. They had his arms up in the air, and when they held his arms up, the people were winning, and when his arms dropped down, the people were losing. But I don't remember the tribes that they were fighting against. I don't remember their names. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So I'm just because I still ask again. What land did Moses' God give him? Because so far the track record ain't so good. Because every time some land
I ain't going to complain about it because I ain't the one that gave him the orders.
Exactly. From every time some land was given out,
I'm going to be neutral
by their God, it was people on the land. So the indigenous people was on the land. So I just looked up, what land did God give Moses? And it says also known as the land of milk and honey. Trying to get there. Okay, the promise was first made to Abraham. So now we already got the receipt that Abraham and them went over there fucking with the giants now. Over in the giants them land. Okay, so it says the promised land was described in terms of the territory from the river of Egypt to Euphrates River, a smaller area of former Canaanite land and land east of the Jordan River was conquered and occupied by their descendants, the Israelites, after Moses left the Exodus out of Egypt. And this occupation was interpreted as God's fulfillment of the promise. Okay? So now they gave Numbers as the reference for the Exodus and God's fulfillment of the promise in Deuteronomy. Moses anticipated that God might subsequently give the Israelites land reflecting the boundaries of God's original promise if they were obedient to the covenant. Okay? So basically, it was pretty much the same region, which was somebody else's stuff. So very, very interesting. Okay, so let's get back. Because we got that one little verse y'all made us go 20 minutes. But we needed to do that because I'm glad you brought that up, sis. Okay, so he was saying, I'm going to go back so we won't forget where we left off. When pronouncing judgment upon Moab, the same prophet says judgment is come upon the plain country, and he names the cities which stood in the plain, and among them are Beth Gamel, Keroth, and Basra. Evidently, these predictions cannot refer to the same place. Another fact still more conclusively establishes the point. After completing the sentence of Moab, including one Basra, the Spirit of God add, yet will I bring again the captivity of Moab in the latter days. So that proves Brother Sean's point that Moses had went back there messing with his wife's people them, so his father-in-law them, wherein in Edom's doom we have these terrible words, for I have sworn by myself, saith the Lord, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. So he's quoting Jeremiah. All right, so the plain of Moab embraced a large part. Yeah, this is the same area. Yeah, so blood was taking other people's stuff too. Moses was following the orders of his God. The same little area taking it. Now they keep saying that the people are cursed. No, blood. The indigenous people were not cursed. The Israelites were the ones that keep trying to take over the area and keep getting overthrown. So now who's really being cursed here? Okay.
Well, in the book of Enki,
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
In the book of Enki, and Lil and Enki were fighting each other.
Right, we know that.
And so you're talking about the challenges that they had, I believe, with the Moses story. I think it pretty much fits.
I 1,000% agree with you, sis, and see.
So who's they got? In Lil and Enki.
Exactly. Those are the demiurges that were fighting and vying for power.
And they were using the people to do it.
Exactly.
It's this. Deuteronomy is saying, but in the cities that these people, that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance, you shall save alive nothing that breathes, but you shall devote them to complete destruction. The Hittites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, as the Lord your God has commanded. Then it go on to say, when you besiege a city for a long time, making war against it in order to take it, you shall not destroy its trees by wielding an axe against them. You may eat from them, but you shall not cut them down.
They didn't kill them.
They didn't kill the trees. Did he say the trees?
Oh, those
right?
trees. I'm trying to save them.
Damn the people. Let's be clear. Damn the people. Strike them down. Don't leave nothing living. But don't.
The resources were better, you see.
Now that's deep.
Well, that's those big old 900-foot trees.
Oh, yeah, but it goes on to say, only the trees that you know are not trees for food you may destroy and cut down, that you may build siege works against the city that makes war with you until it falls.
Child. So let's just recap real quick. So did it not start with Abraham them messing with the giants and pretty much wiped out each little breed of giant on down to where it was Oz, and then Oz and Abraham was battling, and Oz picked up that motherfucking mountain, get ready to throw it at Abraham, and he stabbed him up in the Achilles. And so Og was the last of the living giants, okay? And so then the Israelites, this same area that we're talking about, they kept being conquered. And then they kept coming back, conquering the new people. So it was constant war in the same area. So that's deep, y'all. Okay. So it goes, the plain of Moab embraced a large part of the plateau east of the Dead Sea and the Jordan. A short time before the Exodus, there you go, here you go, Brother Sean, the Amorites conquered the northern part of that plain, and from them it was taken by the tribes of Reuben and Gad. It is doubtful whether the Moabites were ever completely expelled. They probably retired for a time to the desert, and when Israel's power declined, returned to their old possessions. The prediction of Jeremiah referred to the cities once held by the Israelites, yet in his days belonging to Moab. Hence, he includes Basra in the land of Moab. Subsequently, Basra became the capital of a large Roman province, then the metropolitan city of eastern Palestine, when its primate had 33 bishops under him. There go that 33, y'all.
Yeah.
Then it was captured by the Mohammedans and gradually fell to ruin. Now we can see that the prophet's words are fulfilled. Judgment has come upon Basra. Okay, so he's got a lot of cognitive dissonance going on because this whole area stays in perpetual war. And that's because the original indigenous people were thrown off their land, slaughtered off their land, actually, not even thrown off. Slaughtered off their land, and then they terraformed the land. And so they going to try to put their own spin on it and say, well, whoever inhabits that land is cursed. But goddamn,
well, you know what? But the remember, if you go back to the story of Enki, the giants was the ones that came down with them, and they took the land and ate the people. So,
but you got to remember, giants. Remember, it clarified a lot in this book that there was different classifications of giants. So we cannot classify all giants as being the ones that came down and was eating people.
Yeah, like Noah was part of the seed of Moses and all them people, so I don't know.
Right, so they were giants too. Too. So obviously
you had the Titans, giants and Titans.
Exactly. So there was different classifications of giants. So we can't just lump all giants together. We could just only go by what they are literally telling us. We ain't even making this shit up.
I know
They telling us. They telling us that they were conquering the indigenous people's land. This is what they're saying. And that their God keeps telling them to go back to this area fucking with people.
But I was
That's
telling you,
what the Moors say too.
Yeah.
What you say, Brother Sean?
That's what the Moors say.
Well,
on the Moor side.
I mean, it's there. It's telling us what it is. So all the rest of the stuff.
And in Numbers, the Moors were I think it's in the book of Numbers. The the Moabites were destroyed by another king. I think his name started with the C. I can't remember, but they weren't destroyed by Moses. They were destroyed by somebody else, Chalanazer or something. I forget. The Moors, the Moabites.
Well,
ain't going nowhere. That's just it.
Exactly.
They ain't going nowhere. That's just it. Ain't nobody in that book killed them all.
Agreed. And isn't that same area to this day, Palestine and all that? Ain't it still drama and war on who land it originally is? See, it's the same script.
Well, my theory is everything happened over here and they just changed it to over there. So I don't know. I'm confused about that because it really started here and we went over there.
I think it was that this is what I think of what I'm feeling. Over on our side, we didn't have no part of that fuck shit. And the Israelites are wanderers. So as they go to these different lands and get run out of these different lands, set up these civilizations that they always bankrupt, they have to find new lands to conquer. So that's how they made it over here. Now that's how I believe
I don't agree because the Phoenicians and the Mayans, they went over there, and the Phoenicians made a big inroad over there. So, and nobody talks about them bad boys, but they were Mayans.
We don't have to agree on that, but we know the Phoenicians are the banking.
Yeah, and
right?
They do the blue dyes for the robes of the priests and all kinds of stuff. They introduced that dye over there and commerce and all kinds of stuff. They sure did.
So you saying that the Mayans started commerce? That's what you're saying?
Well, Mayans started civilization, period.
But I didn't ask that. I asked, did you say the Mayans started commerce?
Well, listen, yeah. You if you want to say it,
because you're saying that they are the Mayans are the Phoenicians.
Well, I'm Phoenician. I mean Mayan too. So there's all kinds of branches with the family, and the
But no,
Phoenicians.
you're saying though that the Mayans are the Phoenicians.
Yeah, I said Phoenicians are Mayans. The Mayans is a civilization, and Phoenicians is part of that civilization. I didn't say they were the Mayans. I said they're part of it.
Right. The Phoenicians spun from the Mayans, are what you're saying,
right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's interesting. So then, why would they have to go back and conquer that land?
Well, they went over there for trade, I think. My son, if he was on there, he could tell you more about the Phoenicians because he studied them. But they went over there for trade with their wool or their dyes and their stuff, whatever they were doing, because they were shippers. They were ship builders and seamen, and they brought commerce to other lands. And I guess they integrated with.
Right, but that's different than being them. That's two different things. So that's like
no. I mean they went over to the European lands with their commerce. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that the Mayans introduced commerce to the Phoenicians,
And then that's
no.
the Phoenicians.
No. I said
Okay,
Phoenicians are Mayans. Like, I'm a Texan, but I'm not in Texas. So Phoenicians went over to Europe in ships. They're the ones who did the shipping, and that's when they, it's like the corn started over here. It didn't start over there. So
okay,
everything.
So do you?
This continent. Everything started from this continent.
So are you saying either one or two things? That the Mayans went over to Europe, they either
went everywhere
and took over the. Wait a minute, let's stick with the Phoenicians. I want to stick with them because they're the creators of banking. So that's the only reason I'm sticking on this point so strong. So it's either one or two things. The Mayans went over to the Phoenicians area, and they either occupied and took over those indigenous people's land, or they were trading back and forth and integrated with those people.
Over there.
One or two, right, over in the Phoenician area.
Phoenicians started from England, Maine, all that area up there. And they went over there in their commerce. That's what I'm saying. We all migrated from the what do you call that thing? The Arctic, that area. We came up from there and went and branched off into other areas of this continent. And then the Phoenicians went over on the other side because Solomon was doing the Cedars of Lebanon, according to Butler too, in Maine with what is his Hiram, his friend, and they were commercing across the ocean to the other side of the Pangea, whatever. And so that's where the Phoenicians started their, here and went over there.
Okay, so if everything is over here from the biblical perspective, what area is Palestine over here?
I believe that is the Venezuela area. I can't remember what Butler said.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And the reason I'm going there because now I'm only going by the biblical text because that
I know the biblical
Palestine that Palestine area stays in perpetual war.
And
that area fits it more than anything on the Americas.
Well, Lake Titicaca, when they went down into that, some of these explorers of this modern day went down into the lake, they found ruins of cities and stuff down there and artifacts. So Butler, after I read that book, they did that exploration, and Lake Titicaca, I think that's how they pronounce it,
right.
They feel was where they had the nuclear, deal over here.
The nuclear disaster. And again, I say even with that, I believe these Israelites, they're wanderers. So meaning, why could they have not still come from their area and came over to the Americas and started blending in and bringing some of that culture as well and marrying into the bloodline. But I get your point is well taken as well. I don't have an issue with that. Shoot.
You have to look.
Sorry, go ahead, sis.
You have to look at it in 1550. They start shipping us everywhere from here.
Right.
They came over here and they conquered about 600 and about 600 years to take us down because it's in the New Testament in Ephesians said they came over here. And
but I'm gonna ask who was shipping us in the 1500s.
The Spanish. They took over in this place.
Who were the Spanish?
They're from the Iberian Peninsula. I know what you're trying to get me to say, but I ain't gonna say that.
I know you ain't.
You ain't gonna get me to say that one. I don't know if I agree with that one.
Okay, and it's all good. It's all good because again,
I think I will plead the fifth, honey, on that one.
and it's all good because all you have to do is trace back the black nobility bloodline, and we get our answers. So that's where I was going with that.
The Mayans were kings, and they had a high priestess, a priest, civilization. And then you got also, what's his name was, he was a giant, and he was their leader. What's his name? His feet was about 16 feet long.
Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl. Thank you very much. So they didn't kill all the daggum giants. They only killed a few. And the Mayans had him. Quetzalcoatl was their leader. So, who were they actually killing that was a bad seed? I don't know.
Yeah,
but that book is saying they killed everybody and stole everything. But, the Mayans had their own land here. Because we're indigenous to the land. We were like autogenous to the land here.
Right.
But then the Europeans, that's why Abraham Lincoln couldn't recolonize us because he couldn't admit that he stole us from Colombia.
Well, see,
they had no place to go because they were stealing us.
Wait a minute. We have to be careful assuming that the land was just straight up barren until the Israelites came on the motherfucking scene. Damn, y'all, we about to get cut off 2 minutes. That's not the case. People were already indigenous, and people moved through trade, like you said, and then conquesting. So we gonna pick up next week.
They took us everywhere, all over this planet. They even took us to Spain. They took us to Europe. They took us to Wales.
That's totally different. We'll get on that next week. The point I was trying to make, sis, you got any last words?
No, I'm having fun.
Okay, cool beans. Brother Sean, you have any last words for the family?
Yeah, no matter where it took place at, it's dirty motherfuckers.
Yeah, well.
Exactly. And I'm just being so tough because I'm tired of people hiding behind shit. That's over. Everybody getting exposed. So, thank you, family.